Welcome to episode 96 of Shane Talks. We've been on hiatus for a little while, and I am excited about this episode. I am joined, as always, by the greatest co-host in the history of podcasting, Mr. Jason L. Mayer. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Spirit fingers, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
good.
and you can't have an episode called Bad Movies with the Miller Brothers without bringing in the Miller Brothers. So I am so excited that we made this work. I'll tell a little bit about how it all came in a minute. Mr. Garrett Miller. Garrett, how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing just fine.
Awesome. And long time friend of mine, Mr. Ryan Miller. Ryan, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about some good movies.
You mean some terrible movies? It's called Bad Movies with the Miller Brothers tonight because we have some really shitty movies that we're going to be.
I'm just saying it's a weird title considering the movies you named.
So the genesis of this episode goes back like 6 months. It was last summer that Garrett and I were hanging out, and Garrett just has really bad taste in movies and kept talking about all these really crappy movies. And I'm like, dude, these movies are really not good at all. And he's trying to defend them. And I'm like, this is like a podcast waiting to happen. And he starts texting Ryan, you got to defend me on these movies. So that kind of was the genesis of all of this. And then when I let Jason know about this, because it was supposed to be last fall that this episode was going to happen, Jason was like, because I said, Jason, if you want to take an episode off, I'm going to have this episode that's just me fighting with the Miller brothers about these shitty movies. Jason was like, I will not miss that episode. I have to be a part of that. So it took a little while for everybody's schedules to line up. There was some grieving going on for a little while to take some time off, but we are back now, and I'm very excited for everybody's schedules to work together. Ryan, if I remember correctly, our friendship goes back to 2007, back at the Fox and the Hound days.
I don't think I liked you back then.
2007?
I didn't like you really until like 2022.
Got him.
We knew of each other back in 2007. Well, and that's going to make the rest of the story really awkward because you and I would sit and talk about movies for hours at the end of the night. I would show up either after getting off work at the Spot, or once I started working at the movie theater, I'd show up after the movie theater, and you and I would just talk until 3 or 4 in the morning about movies. But I met a lot of really cool people through you, because if I was sitting by myself and you had another friend at the other end of the bar sitting by themselves, you would be like, hey, one of you moved down. Here's Shane. Here's whoever. You guys both like movies. Talk about movies. And like, you introduced me to a lot of really cool people that way, just by being able to talk about movies with people. So years later, you introduced me to your brother. And I mean, that's gone way downhill in our friendship since then.
It was a common trick that I used back in my bartending days. Whenever I had annoying bar guests, I'd pair them up with each other and save me the time and the headache of having to deal with either of them.
I see. Okay, so
it's true story.
It worked like a charm.
It's a true story. He would tell me about this all the time, how he would do that. It was just, I was like, man, that's great. And then he tried to do it to me at one point. I was at Joe's Castleton, and he was sitting there taking a picture of some weirdo. And he was like, hey, you got to meet this guy over here. And I'm like, all right, I got these. He's doing it to me now.
I guess it's also so you can like get everybody together in one spot so you can clean the rest of the bar. And
there's a lot of methods there. Who are some of the cool people that you met? Out of curiosity.
Ryan Smith.
Okay, he's cool.
Yeah, Ryan Smith. That's the main one that's coming to my mind. I know you did it at least with a couple of people. Obviously not people that I really keep in my life so much anymore, since I can't remember who they were. But Ryan Smith is the one that stands out to me the most.
Coach K?
It's a good start. If Ryan Smith is the entire list, you're not losing.
Exactly. No, Ryan's been on the podcast before. He's an absolutely awesome and amazing dude.
And knows nothing about
movies. Yeah, he knows quite a bit about movies.
He knows like 6 movies. He's seen it his entire life. Like, and 5 and 6 he saw this year. So if it was last year, he knew 4. Like, depending on when you had him see that. He knows plenty about football, sports, but.
And I mean, now that life has come full circle, because back then you introduced me to him, and he is now one of your employees. Is he still your employee? I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Any big exciting Joe's Grill news these days? Anything going on at Castle, or I'm sorry, not Castleton, at Fishers or Westfield? Anything exciting coming up?
Nope, not a
No,
thing. Football
not a
season's
thing.
almost over. Get ready for March Madness, St. Patrick's Day. It's the same turn and burn as every year, but
All right.
everything's going well. I
No,
don't have
no
to
big
be there as
awesome
much as I
events.
used to.
Well,
No
that's always
cool.
good.
Any bands coming up, like the
Yeah.
'90s band or something like that?
Is the '90s
Yeah,
band showing up anytime soon?
I'm sure they are on the spot here. I mean, you look it up.
Couldn't remember. I remember looking at it at one point down the line and couldn't remember if they were on or not.
Yeah, I need to
Um,
go see the '90s band again because the
I
last time
didn't
I
think.
tried to go to Free Spirit to see them, it did not turn out very well that night.
I
not
was
this.
As I said, I don't remember it in January because I looked ahead when you posted that, or when Just Cast or Fitz Westfield posted. I don't remember seeing them.
I don't have a copy of that schedule, but they'll be back and they're a lot of fun. Actually, one of the last times that they were coming, I was trying to get some people together. I'll make sure next time we do end up having them, I'll get in touch with you guys so we can go rock out to them. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Very awesome.
It's just that it's
And
West, and it's like
30 minutes out.
way over.
but yeah, so eventually down the road, I mean, it is funny how Garrett and I met like years before we actually became friends. And then I love the fact that that picture he talks about me taking that night at Joe's Castleton, he's in the background of it, judging me like, what the fuck is this dude
What's the
taking a
picture?
It's one of the it's from the Shane Drinks Beer website. It's
Send it
from
to
a
me,
long
Garrett.
time. I'll send it to you, but
Shane will find it before I do.
Okay.
I mean, it'll take me a while to find it, so I'm not gonna. I'll send it to you like tonight or tomorrow or something like that. But it was one back when you were still bartending at Joe's Castleton, and I was sitting by where the Mega Touch machine used to be, at the very end of the bar, and I was taking a picture of one of them. But then yeah, so years later, you introduced me to Garrett, and Garrett became one of my Byron brothers, which makes me extremely happy that I've got him in my life now. So I am so excited to have both of you guys on here because that's literally where a lot of our friendship is talking about movies and talking shit about movies. What is that face for, Ryan? Oh, that is a great
Let's see.
picture of us.
Remember that
I've
one?
also I've also got the picture of when I tried to get you to reenact it like 10 years later and eat my beard a second time and you refused to do that.
Yeah.
Sober when you asked him the second time.
He was sober when I asked him the second time. Well, and I mean, I don't know if you're on Facebook. Your comment about that picture is interesting from that night. What you said about it, but probably not politically correct these days anymore. Who knows? I'll send you the picture where Garrett's in the background of it, judging you while I'm taking the photo. It's funny. Jason, what has been new and exciting with you? Is there anything cool going on with you these days, my friend?
Wow, just throw that sideways at me. Not ready for that.
Apparently that's what I'm doing tonight. Apparently, like, I mean, I'm just going completely off script from what I wrote that we were going to talk about. So, I mean, if there's nothing, man. Like, it's okay.
A couple of days ago, I went and saw Moulin Rouge, the musical, downtown Indy. That was fantastic. The art direction, it was stunning. There at the very beginning of the show, I posted a picture on Facebook, but they literally have like a 3D like layer effect of hearts on like at different levels of the stage. So it literally looks like this tunnel, this awesome looking tunnel. So that was really cool. The entire set design throughout the whole show was really, really cool. So, but yeah, it was fantastic to see that. And, that's been the most exciting thing lately. Besides, I got a quasi, promotion at work.
Nice.
I was voluntold I was getting a promotion. So trying to deal with that. Yeah, besides that, just trying to keep the head above water nowadays and plucking away.
Cool. All right. Well, let's try to get back on script for at least for a little while. I am sure tangents will be happening soon, but we're trying to restructure this episode like a lot of our episodes were last year, and kind of have some categories to talk about. And the first category we're going to talk about this month is coming attractions. Coming attractions, something that is coming in 2025 that you're excited about, a movie show or a TV show or a live show that you're going to, just anything that has you excited for 2025 and what's coming up. Let's go to our guests first and start with Garrett. Garrett, man, what is exciting to you that you're looking forward to in 2025?
I was looking for my list that I wrote down off of there it is. Last of Us, man. New season of Last of Us.
Very nice.
That's, to me, like, video games were my favorite video games, man. Like 1 and 2 were just so much fun, and the story and everything about it was so cool, so much fun, and they did it so well. First season was really good. Had some issues with some of it that they went off topic, and went off on a tangent, but at the same time, and they cut some of the story out and they added extra story, but the game was still perfect and so good. And now season 2 coming out, really excited to see what they do with that.
Very awesome. I agree. I really enjoyed the first season. So, Jason, did you ever watch the first season?
No, I don't have Max.
Oh, okay. Ryan, was it a show that you watched at all?
We did. We really enjoyed Last of Us, and then we ended up playing the video game. The video game is really interesting because of the fact that it has the entire story structure. I mean, everything start to finish in a video game. Usually video games leave so many gaps in their storytelling, even if it's coming. Sometimes they'll do it if it's coming off of like a direct movie, and so it's going straight into a story. But like they wrote what you could consider like the entire script for the entire show in the video game. I mean, there's cutscenes and everything. Like it was kind of crazy to play the video game afterwards and then realize that like the video game came first, because it doesn't seem like it came first. When you're playing the game, like there's so much there. So it's kind of weird.
I do have a PlayStation 4 that is sitting right over there with a Last of Us 1 and 2 discs that I've just never hooked it up to my television to play it. Garrett gave me his old PS4 and both of those games to play about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, probably the last 23, summer 23.
Probably
summer 23.
Okay, we're close to 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's over there. I've got it. Someday I will actually hook it up and find the time to play it. So
it's such a
Ryan,
stellar
what about
game.
I mean, it's coming for both of you guys. Yeah. Ryan, what's coming that you're excited about in 2025?
I didn't have a ton there. I really wasn't prepared for that as I should have been. However, I will say I'm just going through a list right now of what is coming out in 2025, and there's not a ton here that I'm seeing that I know a ton about. I didn't even know they were doing that. They're doing a Nobody 2.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
As far as even live stuff goes, we are going next weekend to Royal Rumble. So that's
okay. If that's what you're excited about, that's awesome, man.
It's definitely
been here in almost 40 years. I think it's like 38 years. I think it's been like 38 years since they've come back to Indy, like for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so I guess there's a show on Friday night also, or Thursday night, like a Thursday night show somewhere here in town, and then they're doing Saturday's Royal Rumble. And let me tell you, tickets aren't cheap. They're not cheap. We're spending for the two of us to go to that cost more than for 4 of us to go to Lambeau.
Oh wow!
I mean, it's a pricey one, but it'll be fun. We're gonna really enjoy the day of it. So we'll see how that goes. I've never been to anybody been to live wrestling before?
Never.
No.
Nope.
My friend, my nephew and his other one of his other uncles are going, and so he asked me 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and I was like, "Yeah, that is not my jam. I'm good."
Really?
And I loved back in the day with like the Hulkster and Macho Man. and Ultimate Warrior way back when. But yeah, like
that's like I don't know any of the people anymore. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be somebody there. I'll be like, holy shit, they're still around. Oh yeah, quick question: are we allowed to cuss?
Absolutely. Fucking cuss. Do you? Yes, there is. Yes.
And I got a list of racial slurs here. If anything, let's go for it.
No, those would be a no. Let's not do that. Yeah, no. I mean, we are four white dudes on a podcast together. I need to get Snow on here or something so that we've got some, minority diversity going on.
Snow and I can do the joke swap.
Oh, jeez.
Joke
swap is great.
I think most of mine were just going to be Asian slurs that I had written down here, and some for Jews. Okay, we won't do it. We won't do it.
Okay. Yeah, no. Anyway. Let's avoid that tonight. I've somehow managed to avoid any controversy with the podcast so far. So, I mean, 20 years ago, I 100% would have been all in for this. But yeah,
I didn't know who watches these.
I was going to say, first episode of the Miller Brothers, of course, there's going to be controversy. So
I just didn't know who was, I wasn't planning on running for office. So
a bunch of white men watch this.
We're back on. Got
it. So it's funny that you say that, though, because a couple of years ago, I legit went through a lot of my social media and deleted a lot of stuff from 10 to 15 years ago because I realized I said a lot of shit that I shouldn't have said in public, and I didn't want that out there anymore. Not that I plan on running for office, but
no,
I mean,
cancel culture is real, bro.
It is. It's insane. So I definitely scrubbed a lot of my stuff. It was back during COVID because I had a bunch of free time on my hand to go through years of my old content. But yeah, I kind of got scared about some of the shit that I used to say online. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do it a lot of times. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll check Facebook and it'll show me my memories. Yep. And it posts it has some posts that I made 12 years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a funny one. So then I save the meme or whatever I posted. In my photos, and then I delete the post, but then I show my friends. I'm like, hey, check this out. Still good. Still fun. It's not for everybody funny anymore.
It's not for everybody funny anymore. Mr. Mayor, man, what are you excited about coming out?
As far as movies, I am more excited about Thunderbolts than I am Captain America: New World Order.
Interesting.
Okay. And that's just because the ensemble cast looks like it's going to be somewhat funny and entertaining to watch them go with each other, especially what's her face?
Florence Pugh?
Yeah, Florence Pugh with
great.
I thought one of the few things that I really enjoyed about Black Widow's movie was her and David Harbour's connection of father-daughter. Thought that worked really. I thought his interaction with both Black Widows was better, chemistry wise, than almost anything else in the film. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him and then the Winter Soldier, especially after watching the What If episode where they were there clowning around or whatever. So it definitely could be somewhat silly and fun, and I hope they keep it lighthearted. Besides that, it'll come up in our favorites of 2024 in a little bit, but I'm looking forward to Wicked Part 2 just because I had a blast watching that with my daughter, watching the first part with my daughter. And then as far as live events, you and I have tickets to Goo Goo Dolls again this summer.
Absolutely.
And, so I'm always happy to see the Goo, and yes, I did that.
It's like you've never seen cum on your friend's face before.
You've all seen it on Shane's face. So the other thing is that for Christmas, I gave my wife 2 tickets to a cabaret show of Norbert Leo Butz, who played the original Fiyero and Wicked, but he was also in the last 5 years. He's a huge Broadway star, but he's coming into Indy and he's doing two performances, and we have tickets to one of them.
That's awesome.
Over Valentine's Day weekend, so it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be cool to see. So
yeah, that's super cool, man. That's awesome.
Yep. So,
I did forget to mention earlier on movies coming out this year. Final Destination's got their Bloodlines coming out.
They do. So when I looked at the list of everything coming out this year, there is nothing that I'm excited about. There's a lot of stuff I will watch. Like there's a lot of stuff like Final Destination Bloodlines. I'll watch it. There's, a bunch of stuff coming out that I'm like, oh, I'll watch that. I mean, I'll obviously watch that. I'll watch a lot of stuff that comes out. But this year, movie-wise, there's nothing that I'm excited about. The next movie that I'm excited about, what's that?
There's a new Predator.
There is at the end of the year, and again, I'll watch it, but I'm not excited about it. Like, which one is this one? Is this the samurai one?
Badlands.
Badlands. Okay.
Yeah,
is that
the samurai one? Does he probably takes on Tom Cruise?
Oh God. Oh, it's not on the list, but we're gonna have to talk about that crappy movie.
They're also releasing a Predator animated film, from what I read. There's going to be a live action one that gets released and an animated one that gets released this year. I don't know if animated is going to the theaters or not, but
if they do samurai and animated, they could incorporate the turtles on both of those as well.
I'm all for it. So
Turtles 3 is such an underrated movie.
No,
like the jokes that they put in
such another good movie.
Turtles 3, add that to the list of shit.
Hey, look, it's Don King.
Yeah, they make the Don King joke. Like, this movie's for 7-year-olds. Like, why are you making jokes about Don King's hair? Like, that's for the parents.
I forget. Did they finally let them go back to using their weapons in the third one, since they weren't allowed to use weapons in the second one?
I think so.
I mean, they exploded a bell with a guy in it with a cannon, but I don't remember.
I thought they used swords because, I thought Leo pulled out his katanas because when they're fighting other stuff.
He does, but I don't think he slices and dices anybody.
No,
he never sliced and diced anybody, though. That was the whole point of the katanas.
Yeah,
was that he had to have the discipline to not kill people.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
It's 1,000% why.
Yeah,
he's the only one with a deadly weapon. He's the only one that can control himself.
Raphael's got the size.
But the sides aren't sharp.
But they're deadly.
I mean, they're deadly. Garrett. The ground is deadly.
Your wrist proves that. So
your face is deadly.
So much like Garrett, my biggest thing I'm excited about this year is the TV show, and that's the 4th season of The Bear. Right up there with Ted Lasso and Shrinking. The Bear is literally one of my favorite shows ever. What's that look for, Ryan? Do you not? You like The Bear, don't you?
Yeah, they've lost me, man.
They lost you with? Why? Mm-hmm. What they lose you with? Dude, I hated Richie so much, and then Richie is just one of those characters that.
I get it. I get it. You like say it. Say what do you want to say about Richie? You like his.
He's like the Jamie Tart story arc. Like he has a redemption.
He likes his arc. That's the word I was looking for, everybody. Okay. Shane wants to talk about his arc. How his growth as a human. Hey, everybody, check out Richie's arc.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with having a story arc?
It's just a classic. You just love using the word all the time when you're talking about this. How often during these conversations, Jason, does he say arc?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Do you guys? I don't know if you guys remember this.
Put a countdown over here.
I don't know if you guys remember this movie or not, but there was a movie called The Hurt Locker that came out. Jeremy Renner was in it. I absolutely think that movie is fantastic. There's so much great stuff that happens with him and Anthony Mackie. And Shane's just like, no, that movie's so horrible. It's just he's the exact person at the beginning of the movie that he is at the end of the movie. And I was like, it's like you're on that journey with them. You're just in a snippet of his life. Like you're like, this isn't the beginning and the end. This is just a small portion. And he's like, no, in a movie, you need to have growth and it needs to change the person and it needs to be totally different. And he needs to be yes, the story arc always comes.
So you know Shane. Got it.
So yeah, Shane hated that movie when it came out, and I think he just hated it because everybody else liked it so much that he was just like, I can't like it. I have to find a reason to not like it. So
for me, and this is something that for talking movies with Shane for a long time, something that I've learned, and I've learned it about myself as well. When judging movies, I judge movies in two separate ways sometimes. One way, which is what I believe Shane, because he's been so into movies, very in depth, like truly into the cinematography, completely from the beginning of production until the final print gets sent to movie theaters. He's so fascinated by the entire process that he judges everything so fucking harshly all the time, because if it's not perfect, then it's not good. And I don't think that's how movies deserve to be judged. When the Academy is reviewing movies and they want to say, does it fit A through Z on all these credentials? I get it. And we can definitely look at movies and we say, the soundtrack was great. The directing was great. Like even the sound editing was, phenomenal. And those are some really cool things. At the same time, I believe the purpose of movies is to entertain me, to make me forget that I'm sitting in my living room. It's supposed to take me to another place. And if a movie can take me to another place and entertain me, it's a good movie for me. And I think that Shane, no offense, I think that Shane struggles with it.
Yes, but in my defense,
I was like, is he talking?
Yeah, but in my defense, I feel like in the last few years, I've started to let go of that a little bit and tried to enjoy movies. Because why don't you ask Jason how he feels about the Fast and the Furious franchise? Because I enjoy the shit out of those movies, and I know they're not good, but I have fun with them.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun, right? Ryan, do you agree they're a lot of fun?
I've gotten back
to Nick, what's going on? All right, we got a timeout real quick. Sorry, apologies. Pausing on the cursing. It is time for our Nick Mayer cameo. What's up, homie?
Every time I'm making a podcast, doesn't matter where I am in the house, he finds me to make these cameos happen.
That's awesome. Nick, have you seen any good movies recently? Did you see Sonic 3?
Yeah.
Was it any good?
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Awesome.
Definitely my favorite Sonic movie.
That's your favorite out of all three of them?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to need to watch it then because I really liked the first one a lot. So that's a pretty high bar for you. Anything else?
Hold on.
Word.
So,
sure.
This psychedelic.
It is very much so.
We're getting another cameo.
Who's the other cameo? Who's in it? Oh, look at that! Hello.
There you go. All right. Good night, guys.
Anyways, night, Dad.
Love you guys.
Good to see you guys.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Every time.
No worries. Again, I feel like I've been trying to do better in the last couple of years of just enjoying stuff, but I probably don't. It's probably
it just depends.
What Shane likes to say about the Fast and Furious franchise is somehow he doesn't judge that franchise like he judges almost everything else. He's like, I'm willing to turn my brain off and watch those, which absolutely makes no sense considering how bad they are. And if you've ever listened to our tirades on this podcast, you know that I have issues with the fact that the laws of physics no longer exist in that world.
So they went to space. How does that? They got a car in space that flew.
So I watched like the first two Fast and Furious, and maybe because Tokyo Drift was the third one. And I thought at that point, like, I didn't really enjoy them, so I didn't stick with them. But I think that in those early ones, they were really taking themselves seriously.
Yep.
Where I thought it was just like, it's not even like fun, not believable. It's just like they're trying to make it like it would actually happen. But then I caught back up. So when you're gonna love this story, Shane, when Paul Walker died. I was like, wow, what an opportunity for them. Like, they're going to go kill him off in this movie. So, like, I went and checked out the movie because what a great opportunity for them to, like, actually, like, be able to kill him on screen. And then they didn't. And they had so many opportunities to actually kill him on screen. But then that got me back into watching some of the movies because I was like, this is pretty fun. Not just trying to watch Paul Walker die, but, like, the movie itself was very entertaining. I liked them again.
Yes, I agree. They are just fun. They're stupid fun. I turn my brain off and I enjoy the stupidity of it. Like, I don't know. I guess that's the franchise that I'm willing to just embrace the stupidity of it.
What about the spinoff? Was it Hobbs and Shaw or
Oh no, that was garbage. I don't like that one. No, that was dumb. There's nothing redeemable in that one. No.
My 30-year-old niece the other day said, "You know what? They need to make a sequel to Hobbs and Shaw." And I went into jerk uncle mode because I was like, "You are nuts. That is horrible. There was nothing redeemable about that movie." And I went on like a 5-minute tirade because she decided to, "Oh, Hobbs and Shaw should get a sequel." I was like, "Oh God, no.
No, it shouldn't. Not at all."
You guys watch Back in Action? Do you guys watch that?
Action?
Yeah, so Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz.
The Netflix movie. No, I haven't seen it yet.
At the very beginning, you find out that they hook up and then she ends up pregnant and they're CIA operatives. And then all of a sudden, like, they decide.
Cameron Diaz?
Yeah. They decide that they're going to disappear from the world. And it picks up 15 years later. It was entertaining enough to watch once. It was fun.
Cameron Diaz now or Cameron Diaz 1995?
Cameron Diaz now. So, yeah, I prefer the shapely one compared to the stick figure one myself. So, but
I will say, and the next movie that I am excited for, I think the Miller brothers are going to be on board. I don't know if Jason will be on board, but February 27th of 2026, we get Scream 7. And I am excited for Scream 7. Jason, I don't know why you have to hate on Scream. I guess that's another franchise that I just...
I'm like
Scream's a great franchise, man. What's that?
I'm like 2 behind on Scream.
Oh, well, okay.
So
Never mind.
I'm excited for it.
I gotta play catch up. We tried to get caught up, and then we got stuck on once 3 happened, and I forced her to watch 3. So I was trying to like catch her up. And we got to 3, and then like we just kind of took a hard stop.
Yeah, when 3 happens, it's easy to stop at 3. You got to move on. Got to move on.
3 is rough, and I know a lot of people hate 4. I don't hate any of them. But 3 and 4 are kind of a rough spot.
I like 4.
3. I like 4 for what it was, coming back 10 years later and figuring out what's that?
Hayden Panettiere.
4's got Hayden Panettiere in it.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I really liked. I thought they did a really good job of staying true to what the first Scream was doing, as far as like truly making it about like what are horror movies now? What are fourth horror movies? What are resurgences of a horror franchise? And they kept it with that, and then the online stuff. Like I thought they kept true to kind of their original pattern of all that, outside of who the killer was and who did what, but like the movie itself stayed true to where they go. So I like it.
I'll give you that.
I think 5 and 6 are better than 3 and 4, personally.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll agree with that statement for sure.
So
we're excited to get to 5 there. We'll get there.
Get 5 and 6 done. All right, let's move on. Yeah, you had a whole year to worry about it. Next category I want to talk about, I want to look back on the movies of 2024. And I just want you to give me the top 3 things that you love, like really enjoyed and had a good time with in 2024. Kind of tell me what it was about those that you liked. And Garrett, we'll go back to you and start with you, my friend. What did you even see 3 movies in 2024? Like
I did.
Okay, good.
Well, with younger kids, it's harder to see some of the movies I wanted to go see. But I saw a few the cartoony ones, Inside Out 2. But Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was last year.
Okay.
And again, that
wasn't as good as the reboot.
It wasn't, but it's still, to me, it's still so much. It was a lot of fun. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It it brings me back to, Ghostbusters and that fun. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It still had a lot of good entertainment value to it. I've gone back and watched it a couple times because it's one that I can get myself into, and I want to just catch everything I can on it. Trying to think what else. Oh, Deadpool Wolverine. I saw that recently, actually.
That's on my honorable mentions list. It was definitely a good time and a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it. I mean, it's always Deadpool's funny. He's fun. He always takes things to that extra level that we were joking about earlier with what we can say on this and what we can't say on this.
Sure.
And then trying to think the other ones I saw. Beetlejuice, which I did not care for at all.
No.
And then my kids had me watch Transformers 1.
Okay, I haven't caught that yet.
It's a good because it goes back to like the beginning of where Optimus Prime and Megatron came from, they were friends first, and kind of how they got shaped into who they are now. But this is an animated movie instead of like the real movie, kind of live action movie you got now, or we're used to. This is an animated one. They did a good job with it with Cybertron and all. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, creative. So yeah, those are the movies I got. 3, or I guess that's 4 movies that I did see this year, or this last year.
Nice. Mr. Ryan Miller, you got a top 3 of 2024?
So I hadn't really put them in from what I saw into a list of 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Movies that you had talked about there. Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought they did a great job on it. One thing, like it's nice that it's the 3rd installment, so they know that they have a group of people that are coming to watch these movies. They've done a lot of inside jokes in previous movies. This movie was all inside jokes, like jokes that if you understand Marvel Universe and Deadpool, even like political stuff, like everything was a joke about something else that if you didn't know that story, you didn't know what joke they were making. So I thought that could be an interesting choice for them. Even just a lot of homosexual humor in it. They may kind of alienate themselves with some of those. So I don't know if the reviews really went as well as they wanted to with a lot of that stuff. I thought it was hilarious. I got most of the jokes. There were still some that I found out later were jokes that I just completely missed, but I thought it was good. List of movies that I did see this year. Boy, it goes from Long Legs, which was interesting. I don't know what the big deal was with Nicolas Cage and why that was so uppity. That was such an amazing thing. I didn't mind the movie itself as much. I actually didn't. The ending was weird. It was interesting. Yeah. I like weird horror movies. But we also saw Late Night with the Devil this year.
Which was on my honorable mention list. That was great.
It was just a lot of fun. It's nice to see them portraying that type of horror movie again. So we got to see that in theaters, and I definitely enjoyed that. I think you could have gone a little bit further with it at the end there. I thought I think they jumped off the train, or they stopped it just short of the station.
I agree with you on that. I remember texting you the night that I watched it, and I was like, I don't know if you've seen this yet. And you were like, bro, I saw that a long time ago. And I'm like,
the night it came out, I was so excited for it. And so that also screws with me because I do get excited about movies that I'm going to watch. And then it's the Lion King effect for me. So really excited about Lion King when I was a kid. For like 2 years. Like mom and dad would like record specials on like the news on like they have the VCR and they like hit record, be like, Ryan, you have to come watch what we recorded on the view. They'd rewind it and then hit play, and like I'd watch the news again with them. It was a segment on the Lion King, and I was like, dude, this movie's gonna be so good. This is going to be the best movie ever. And for 2 years I was just pumped for it. And then the movie came out and I was like, it just didn't look like I was here. This is where I wanted it to be. And it was here, which I'm sure everybody else was like, oh, it came in here and it was here. So they were like, yeah, it's amazing. But it was like less than that for me. So I kind of ruined it for myself. Now everybody talks about how great the movie was back in the day. And I'm like, I just hate it at this point. So I try not to do that with movies
Yeah.
moving forward. But I kind of do with a lot of stuff anyway, because I'm like that. Gladiator 2, I was not a fan of.
Good to hear.
Say what?
What's
Shane, did you even
no,
see it?
no, I will not ever. I will refuse to ever watch that movie. I will not ever in my life watch Gladiator 2.
You were supposed to go see it.
There's
You
0%
had tickets to it with me, and we
Yeah, I was
decided
gonna say.
instead.
Nope.
You say he had tickets to go
Dude,
see it, and then he ended up checking out with me.
That was the universe. That was the universe telling me I do not need to go watch that movie. So I am very happy that I did not go see it.
It was weird. There was a whole lot of dialogue. It was 2.5 hours. There's a whole lot of dialogue for you not to feel connected with the characters, which is weird because usually if you have that much time to talk, you actually do get a connection, and they just nothing was believable enough to really pull you in. Alien Romulus, I was a big fan of. I love that they really gave the face huggers some glory in this movie. I
agree.
That was probably my favorite part. Twisters, which was just fun. If you can get past all of it, it's just fun. And what's his name? Glenn Powell. I'm really excited for his future. He can just remake everything, and I'm okay with it. I'm just gonna go tell Shane how great all of them are, all the time.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, we'll talk about it when we get to my list, but like, yes, Twisters. But on top of that, I have not seen a bad Glenn Powell movie yet. I literally have not seen a movie of his that I went, oh, that was garbage. Like,
he's like a little Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yep, you can look at it that way. Anything else?
Civil War, I hated.
Yeah,
I think I love the universe that they created with that, and I think that we'll see another movie in that universe. I hated the story that they decided to tell in that universe. Something else will happen in that universe. That story was. Dune 2 was great. Like Prey. The Substance was a really fun one. Like, good for her for making that movie. Demi Moore, good for them for making that movie. That was so weird.
The Substance was it was definitely like a Cronenberg type film, but like I think maybe it was hyped up too much for me because when I watched it, I was like, I mean, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting concept. Like I said, the body stuff is very Cronenberg like, but like I just didn't care. I mean, in Act 3, when things go bonkers in that movie, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of ridiculous." But what's the point? Like, I mean, and I mean, okay, it had a good bookend with how the movie started. Like, okay, I get that and whatnot, but like, I just didn't really care about that character's journey in that movie.
What would you call that journey over the course of a film?
Perhaps a story arc.
Small. That's the okay. It's 2.
Yeah.
I'll go with it. 2 on the art counter. Monkey Man was really close to being good.
Yeah.
I wish he could he had some good stuff, but it just wasn't quite there. Caddo Lake. The people talked about that one, and I've just seen that story before. Wolves. Fun enough. My favorite.
Oh, Wolves. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Wolves. My favorite movie.
Yeah.
I think the one that entertained me the most. You're not gonna like.
Oh boy.
Fall Guy. Ryan Gosling.
Dude, you're wrong about me on that. Fall Guy was a blast.
That was just such a fun movie.
Stupid fun. I would put that in the same category as like a Fast and the Furious movie. Like, physics doesn't apply. It just is ridiculously stupid fun.
It was Ryan Gosling being able to portray just a humble little idiot that is just he's pretty on screen, but he's kind of stupid, but things just go wrong for him. They had a great 80s rock soundtrack the whole time. They used music choices amazing in that movie, and it was just absolutely action-packed with a lot of jokes, humor, little rom-com in there. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I did. You were wrong about me on that one. I loved that movie last year. That was a lot of fun. Mr. Mayor, you got a top three from last year?
Um, I'm gonna go with. I've got my top five, but I'll whittle it down.
All right, go
Uh,
for your top five.
well, I'm a musical guy. Everybody knows that. Wicked definitely is in my top three. I don't necessarily. It might be number one. I don't know, but it's definitely in the top three. Um, Probably the best interpretation we're ever going to see of that story get onto film. And like, I mean, it was a really well done, executed portion of the musical. And on top of that, being able to share something like that with my daughter, whereas most of the time I'm sharing those kind of moments with my sons, with film. The only other one that I can think of is the first Moana movie was another one that my daughter and I, only her and I went and saw it, and like she absolutely adored it when we saw it. So like that's always a cool memory for me. Or we'll say core memory if we're sticking with the inside. So but yeah, so Wicked was definitely high on my list. Having something that I really have enjoyed for 20 something years to all of a sudden my daughter's like super obsessed about is really cool. Um, Deadpool and Wolverine. The funny part about this movie is like Ryan, you hit it right on the head. All those jokes, everything about it. Like if you know the X-Men universe, you know the Deadpool universe, you know the MC, like it all works together. And it's funny, but it's also one of those moments where you're like, the more I think about it, I'm like, this is Jay and Silent Bob of the MCU. Like that, sorry, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back of the MCU. So it's literally like, it's such a weird movie because the story arc is not nearly, it's not a really good story overall. It's just blah. But we're entertained more so because of the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have such a chemistry on screen for this. But because I had so much fun and I was cracking up through the whole thing, it's literally it is in my top three. And then this is where it gets really tough because my third one can be one of two. I'm gonna call it a dead heat here. Fall Guy is definitely up there. And then my last one, and all for the same reasons that you were talking about, Ryan. So, but my last one is the 4:30 movie, and that's just because of the simple fact that Shane and I, like, it's literally like Shane and I's life for like the last 30 years. So, like, of us, and I know it's on your list, Shane, and I know, and I knew that as soon as I said it, I'd get that face that you just gave. So. But yeah, it's a lovely film.
Yeah.
It might be Kevin Smith's best overall, just for the way that it sits with me personally. I don't like on a personal level, it might be my favorite. It's not his best. I still think Chasing Amy's probably his best writing, directing wise,
Bingo.
but yeah, 4:30 might be my favorite of his. And that's just because it's so close to home for what she and I went through making movies, spending all of our time in Castleton Arts and all the other fun stuff that we did all those years ago. So, yep, no, that's my list.
That's a great list. Well, two out of my three have already been talked about. My number one from last year was the 4:30 movie for all the reasons you just talked about. I love the movie. Again, it's not better than Chasing Amy, but it is definitely one of Kevin Smith's best films that he's ever made. The story's awesome. The story about it's equal parts about loving movies. It's equal part about loving your friends, and it's equal part, young love at its genesis. So all three of those things. If it was told non-linear, that's pretty much the only way that I could possibly love the movie any more than I already do. Um, my number two movie we already talked about. We talked about Twisters, and it's the greatest. It's the most fun story that anybody that knows Ryan and I, anytime I would spend time with them over the summer, I would somehow Twisters would come up and they'd be like, "Oh, Ryan told me a story about you in that movie," and I'm just like, what do you mean?" Yeah, Ryan told me that your quote after watching the movie was, "I hate the fact that I don't hate that movie." And apparently, you told a lot of people that that was my review of the movie because multiple people this summer came and talked to me about it. And it's true because for 2 years, I shit talked that movie about how it doesn't need to be made. There's no reason to make a sequel to Twisters. This is going to be a piece of shit. Why are they wasting their time? I told Jason the only way I will go watch this movie is if we go watch it in the IMAX. Unfortunately, his plans fell through, or something came up that weekend and he couldn't go with me. So I had to go watch this movie in the IMAX by myself, where I was just almost like, fuck this. I'm not going to go watch Twisters by myself. But I still went and watched the movie and watched it in IMAX and was blown away. I literally couldn't. The whole movie, and Glenn Powell, as we talked about, like going in thinking that he was going to be like the Carrie Elway character, and I'm like, oh, like from minute one, I'm like, man, he's playing this part so well, like he's doing such a great job. And then even as his character shifts, I'm like, damn, I'm buying into this. I think I'm falling in love with this dude. Like, all right, let's go. I loved how they downplayed the romance in the story. Like, I mean, it was there, and you knew it was there, and you could tell it was there, but like it wasn't prominent to the story and it didn't matter to the story. And like personally, I feel like if they had made any more of the romance out of it, it would have taken away from the lead female's like story arc and how her stuff played out. But anyway, so I hate the fact that I didn't hate that movie, and I actually really loved it. It's my second favorite movie from last year. The third one, Ryan, you might be the only person that could potentially have seen this. It is a low budget horror thriller movie called Strange Darling. Do you know anything about Strange Darling?
Let me look it up.
Okay.
The name seems familiar, but I did not see it.
Okay. I highly recommend Strange Darling. I would assume it's streaming somewhere by now, because I think I went and saw it in like July or August.
It's already on my watch. It's on my watch list already.
Okay. Strange Darling is told non-linear. It is a horror. I wouldn't say horror. It's a thriller that is told non-linear, where you don't really understand what you're watching. It's told in 6 chapters, and it starts at like chapter 4, and then you get chapter 3, and then you get chapter 1. So then you kind of think you know what's going on. Then you jump to chapter 5, and then it jumps back to chapter 2, and then you kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on, and then you finally get chapter 6 and get the resolution of like what you've actually been watching. But it is such a genius narrative structure, and the way that it was something that I knew nothing about. Jason and I were going to watch like a 9 o'clock movie on a Thursday night, and sometimes I'll look, and when we go to late shows, I'll try to find something earlier to watch. So there just happened to be like a 7 o'clock show of this movie. I watched the preview and I was like, I literally have like no idea what's going on in this movie, but like it had like a 8.0 or something on the IMDb. So I was like, well, it's got good reviews. Let me go check this movie out. Like, not like the preview doesn't really explain to you what the movie is about. So I went and I watched it, and I think literally like knowing very little about the plot and then watching how it unfolds and what the story is. Strange Darling is just a very good, well-made movie, and a study in nonlinear storytelling and story structure, and how the peeling back of the onion and learning things. I just really enjoy Strange Darling, so I thought that was a pretty awesome movie.
Yeah, I'll put that on the list. I mean, it's on my other list, but I'd love to see it.
Cool. Yeah, I highly recommend it, and I look forward to talking to you about it after you've seen it. All right, this is the part of the show where we're going to take a quick break. We are going to send it over to my buddy Troy. Troy and I are going to have a probably very long discussion about David Lynch. David Lynch, who passed away a couple of days ago. Huge influential filmmaker for me, somebody that I have loved his work for the last 30 years. Troy and I are going to have a long conversation about David Lynch, so let's send it to future Shane and Troy to hear about that. Have my favorite part of every episode is talking to you, Troy. Granted, I'm going to be honest, I have a feeling I'm going to do a lot more talking on this Troy Talks than I've ever done before, and I want to apologize to you for that. But it's also kind of your fault, because you and I, as we always do, we'd agreed on a category to talk about at Troy's Talks, and that kind of just gives me an idea of where you might be going and what I can bounce off of you and things like that. So we had our idea set. We were good to go. And then a few days ago, you texted me after David Lynch died. And you were like, bro, scrap everything. Let's talk about David Lynch. And I was like, 100% in. I'm in. Let's do it. I love that idea. So yeah, so you and I are going to talk about David Lynch, and I will probably have a lot to say about David Lynch. So I do apologize if I kind of overtake Troy's talks a little bit. So with that all out of the way, how's Troy been? We took a hiatus. I've missed talking to you. I'm very happy to have you back. What's new in Troy's life? How were your holidays, brother?
Holidays were good, man. Like, we got through them. I recently just kind of got a bit under the weather, but I'm coming out of that and ready to go. 2025, man.
Awesome. As before we get into David Lynch, I do want to talk to you about something. I purposely did not review this movie on Letterboxd to make sure that you didn't see that I have seen this movie, but I recently watched Hundreds of Beavers.
Oh yeah. All
That
right, the
movie
beef.
is bonkers, dude. Like
I
it's on Amazon Prime now. So I was just like, I had some time. I wanted to have something ready to tell you that I watched. When I found Hundreds of Beavers was available, I about a year ago now, I was supposed to go to a showing of it with you that I ended up not being able to make it to. I wish I would have watched this in the theater with you, man. Like this movie, and it's crazy that we're talking about David Lynch on this episode because like watching it very much felt like this is a bizarre bonkers. Like David Lynch would have probably loved this movie. Like, dude,
oh yeah, I could imagine.
I give them props for a lot of the shit that they pulled off in that movie. Um, I honestly want to find some type of behind the scenes documentary, like how they did a lot of the stuff that because it's definitely a lot of green screen, definitely a lot of animation. And maybe I literally felt like I was watching a live action Looney Tunes cartoon. Like
I mean,
just
uh, I've seen them twice. I saw that movie twice in the theater. Both times the guy, the Mike Chesak guy that directed it was there with one of the people kind of in it. Um, yeah, and that was kind of like their whole deal. Like they're very inspired by Looney Tunes. They're very inspired by like old silent movies. They're very inspired by like Guy Madden like art movies from like 20 years ago. Uh, yeah, no, I mean those guys are like really on top of their shit. Like it's really entertaining. Seeing it in the theater is like unbelievable because there are just points in the movie where a man in a beaver suit will run across the front of the
oh no way.
screen
Oh,
yelling and being
nice.
ridiculous, and then the guy will come out and like I've seen a beaver power bombed like more times in my life than I ever thought I would ever see, all thanks to that movie. And every time it's entertaining. Those guys might actually be more entertaining in the post show than the actual movie.
Okay.
But no, like I love the movie. One of the things that uh, another one of their big influences for the movie is like video games because
Sure, absolutely.
if you look at the plot of the movie, it's all about
Yep.
like attaining shit to attain more shit. So it's like a
Yep.
role playing game in a way. Like,
100% got that vibe.
and so there's just like, so it's like all the things that like, it's almost like this perfectly constructed box where like they're like, okay, we're gonna do wild shit. We're gonna do like, zany, insane shit. And almost any criticism that you can level at us, we're going to have like kind of like a built-in like protection against that criticism. So like you could be like, oh well, this is tedious. And I'm like, well, that's the idea. It's like a video game. It's like
Yep.
you don't beat
Yep.
King Bowser the first time running through fucking Super Mario Brothers. It's like do 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 do, and you die. Bloop,
Yep.
and it's just like, and then you come back and you have to do the same thing again. And so like the visual representation of that, like especially like the big wheel of the spike of death thing,
Yep.
like it's just like, like the whole movie is built like a fucking Rube Goldberg machine. It's like fucking Mousetrap. It's like fucking
Yep.
genius. Like I love the thing. Uh, I'm just like it's one of those movies that like I went to the opening night at the Indianapolis Film Festival, the Indie Film Fest. It was the movie Sisu, the like
Oh, yep.
Norwegian John Wick,
Gotta wait.
which
Yep.
is the most insulting thing I've ever heard said about John Wick. And I really would just like cap the shit out of somebody if they said that to my face. Because Sisu sucked.
That's what I heard.
Uh,
That's what you told me.
yeah, Sisu sucked. But I saw a preview for this movie,
Ah,
the Hundreds of Beavers preview, and like Sisu was fairly crowded, and there was like me and another guy who seemed to like chuckle at this fucking preview. And so like 3 days later, they played it at the Can as part of the actual film festival. The guys were there. I was one of like maybe like 10 people in the theater.
Oh wow.
It was insane. Like I was just like I had never seen anything like it. I was just like, all right, dude, I'm in. I came back. I was just like, it was one of those movies that like I feel like the only thing they ever asked me was to tell people about it, and so like I did. I tried to spread
Oh
the
yeah.
gospel.
Oh yeah.
If I'm being honest, if I go on like an actual release date, it's going to be my number one movie like 2 years in a row. It won't be because I already made it my number one movie last year. I won't be that tedious when I release my list later, which will probably be like next month. I'll get to everything.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Maybe that'll be what I do halftime talk. But yeah,
Okay.
no, Hundreds of Beavers. I cannot recommend it enough. I love
Here,
the
here,
shit out of it.
here's a couple things I will say about it.
I think it's
Number
also
one.
available on Tubi if you're like a mega cheap ass and you just like
Oh, okay.
fucking yeah. So like they're
Gotcha.
making it to where you can see it.
Okay. Here's the couple things I do want to say about it. Number one, I felt like it was probably about 20 minutes too long. I feel like they probably could have tightened up the movie a little bit.
Yeah, but
That's
fuck
just
it.
my opinion. But that also rolls into what I'm going to say next is that my biggest regret about not seeing it in the theater with you. How many people were there the second time? The time that I
Oh
didn't.
my god, it
It
was jam packed. Like we sat
was
in
Full House.
shitty
Okay.
seats.
Okay.
Like
So that experience, I see this movie very much being like The Room. Like I think the experience of being in the audience, being in an audience watching it is probably far more enjoyable than me watching it on my couch by myself and laughing. Like I'm laughing at stuff, but I feel like I would have laughed more and enjoyed the movie more in a social environment.
oh
So,
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I think that's true of almost like any comedy. Like,
okay.
I enjoy Superbad more in the theater than I did watching it on my couch, but I still really
Sure.
enjoy it on my couch. You know,
Yeah. So awesome. Solid. You'll see my 3-star rating on Letterboxd later. I had a good
three
time. Very much
stars.
enjoyed
What
it.
the fuck?
3 star.
Fuck
You
you.
know. All right. All right. Let's talk about David Lynch for a little bit. Let's see where we go with David Lynch. I feel like this is going to be kind of a longer Troy Talks than usual. Just like I said, I have a lot to say. Um, my first thing, can I ask you of this? Anything Twin Peaks related? Can we move all that to the very end of talking about David Lynch? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can say yeah, dude. I don't. Okay. Here's my thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even remember what our original topic was going to be tonight because that was like damn near a month ago when we talked about that shit.
Yep.
I'm like, well, all right. But even David Lynch died like what, like 2.5 weeks ago or something like that. Like it's been
Something
a
like that.
while, and so the funny thing happened with David Lynch, like, and like I sent that to you the moment I found out, like that morning, really. Like I was just like,
Yep.
oh shit, that's a real thing that happened, and I was like bummed out.
Yep.
Um, and I sent it to you, and I was just like, oh, I think we got like, let's just talk about this on the show. And so in that space, dude, there were so many fucking articles about David Lynch that I was just like, are you like, I was just like, this is the same guy, right? Like, and so like, I mean, dude, like I expect like, Peter Bradshaw and the Guardian to like write something up about like, like if Almodovar died tomorrow, like Peter Bradshaw would write something in the Guardian about him and it'd be great. And, somebody would
Hmm.
write something on fucking, wherever you go to get your film news, like, like,
Yep.
Hollywood Reporter, wherever, like, whatever. And so, like, somebody on Letterboxd would write a yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
But, like, man, like, David Lynch, dude, they were writing shit about him in, like, People magazine and shit. Like, Us Weekly was like, oh, that time David Lynch wore it better. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, dude. And so, like, it brought me with two things. Like, for one, I did no research for this. I was like, because there is nothing that I'm going to add to this conversation at this point that has not been said by somebody who is A, more qualified, and B, probably like more articulate and better, well thought out than I am.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so I didn't do shit. Like,
Okay.
and the other thing is, man, I'm like, it made me start thinking about like David Lynch just kind of like as a construct, like a cultural construct, as opposed to like a person. Which sad, seemed like a great guy, made some really great movies. But like,
He seemed like
I,
the grandpa that I wanted. Like watching like his
yeah,
YouTube channel and watching stuff, you're just like, yeah, I know you're a really fucking weird filmmaker, but you also just seem like a fun dude to sit down and talk to. Like he gave me like cool grandpa vibes.
yeah, he just seemed like a very like he just had like an attention to detail, like, and he seemed like he carried that in his
Hmm.
personhood. Like he seems like a guy who would be able to tell you a great story, like
Hmm.
while you're just like sitting on a porch. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but no, like the thing is like so like, but the thing about David Lynch is like, how did David Lynch acquire this like cultural coin to be the fucking weird guy? Like in a way that like Lynchian is its own fucking adjective. And
Absolutely.
and 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 I just thought that it's funny I'm wearing this. Like because the example of this is like if David Cronenberg dies
Okay.
like
Okay.
tomorrow. Yeah, it's in the fucking Guardian. They do something about it on Letterboxd, man. I'm not reading about David Cronenberg dying in People magazine. Like, you know
No.
what I mean? It's not coming to like the fucking like, you know, it's not leading my like fucking Google feed or my Yahoo feed or
Sure.
whatever. Like, it's not leading that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I'll know about it because I know about that shit, but like the world at
Hmm.
large will not. And that's somebody
Nope.
who like I consider like almost like this David Lynch like contemporary in a way, like because they're about the same age. They kind of started around the same time. They both make their
Yep.
weird little idiosyncratic like fucked up
Yep.
movies, and
Hmm.
it's like it's so weird that like David Lynch is like this like other thing as to where like David Cronenberg is like famous to people like us. Um, and so like
So,
I don't like
real quick, what I want to address about and this is going to make sense why this was posted, but so on Facebook, I follow the Roger Ebert Facebook page, and like literally, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw Roger Ebert's Facebook page post anything, and then all of a sudden it was like David Lynch dies, and they're like, here's all the times Roger talked about David Lynch, and I'm just like, okay, like that makes sense that you're putting that out there, but whoever runs that page is like, I finally have something to put on here. Like it was just so weird that it came out of nowhere.
yeah no it's just kind of like I like I guess he was just kind of like a monolith in a way. Like I don't, and it's like how do you discuss a monolith? It's like I don't know, man. It's sad. Um,
You would feel like it was like Spielberg that just passed away or something because it got so much coverage outside of just the film world.
yeah, like in a weird way. Like I expect like yeah, I feel like that. I feel like the level of like that. The level of like attention that was paid to the passing of David Lynch is like what I assume would happen if like Spielberg or Lucas died. You know what I mean? Like,
Forbes
and so
magazine, Forbes
I'm like,
magazine
dude,
posted it.
am I gonna be reading like for like 17 fucking weeks if Spielberg dies? Like about like think pieces? Like if Martin Scorsese dies, man, I'm shutting down the fucking internet forever, dude. Like I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to
Sure,
celebrate him for like a whole fucking year.
sure.
And I'm like, if this is what David Lynch got, shit, dude.
You know,
Yeah,
I definitely agree with you that a lot of outside of film, like websites that don't normally cover David Lynch or cover like don't normally cover film period, let alone a specific director like David Lynch. Like where I was seeing art, like I said, I saw an article from Forbes, and I don't know what's going on with Forbes these days. Forbes is covering like video games, and Forbes is covering a lot of shit I never thought that they would ever cover. But like, yeah, I saw a posting from them about like the history of David Lynch and stuff like that. So it's very crazy.
all right.
All right, what's up?
I just had a thought, like a hot take, like really really hot fucking take thought. Okay, what if I propose to you that nobody actually really likes David Lynch?
I like David Lynch.
Okay, no. What I'm gonna say to you is like I think everybody likes one David Lynch film.
Ooh.
Like maybe two or three, depending on what your favorite is. But like, I don't think anybody really likes his collective body of work. I think it's just like, oh man, I really like Wild at Heart. Cool, man. Like, I love David Lynch. Like, did I like Inland Empire? No, fuck. No. God, I thought that movie sucked. It was so unwatchable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like Blue
Okay.
Velvet. It's cool. Like,
Okay.
I
Okay.
I tolerate Dune. I tolerate The Lost Highway. I fucking, you know, like,
Okay.
and so like
Okay. Okay.
and this just popped into my head because they're showing a Wild at Heart at the Can with like hosted by some local like burlesque performers. And I was
Okay.
just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a perfect movie for like a burlesque type deal. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so like, and I was just like, all right, cool. And I was like, and so in the back of my mind, like when we started talking about this, like I was just kind of like, okay, so who hosts like the straight story? That's brought to you by like what, the farmer, like the Future Farmers of America. They're like, oh,
Yep.
and I'm like, but those people love David Lynch probably because that movie speaks to them in a weird way. And that's the thing, like his movies were so weird and idiosyncratic, but if they got you and got into you, they really got into you. But the thing is, like, I don't think all of them got into everybody. Does that make sense? Like, I don't
It
think there's a
does.
person out there. I don't think there's a person out there that all of his movies appeal to in a weird way.
Okay. And we can definitely, because what I did is I broke down all of my different like David Lynch vibes. And we'll get to that in a second. Because here's the funny thing, because you say that, and at first I was like, no, I love David Lynch's whole, like I love all David Lynch movies, but I think you're right. I don't think I love them that way because here's the thing. Like you said, he died about 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago or so. I have only rewatched two David Lynch films in that period of time. I watched Lost Highway and I watched Mulholland Drive. And those are like the two David Lynch movies I didn't need to rewatch because I've seen them hundreds of times. Like I know those movies forward and backward. There's no reason for me to have rewatched them. But I could, well, and I just rewatched Straight Story like 2 months ago, so that one's kind of fresh in my head. But like, I didn't go rewatch Blue Velvet, which I haven't seen in a while. I didn't go rewatch Wild at Heart, which I haven't seen in a while, and now I want to go to the Can to watch it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, me too. I'm definitely
but
gonna pop in.
how soon is that? When is that?
I'll let you know
Okay,
when
yeah,
I
let
can
me know
look it up
because
on the internet.
okay, yeah, I would 100%, as long as I don't have anything else going on that night, I would love to go watch Wild at Heart on the big. I've never seen it on a big screen, so I would
I think
100%
it's
be
like a
on.
Friday. I think it's a Friday and a Saturday show on like a
Okay,
weekend in February. Like maybe
okay,
I don't think it's Valentine's Day weekend, but it could be.
okay. Cool. All right. So as far as David Lynch movies go, the first category I have are his black and white films. And the fact that you mentioned David Cronenberg, I definitely feel like both of these films are his most David Cronenberg like, because they're both kind of like body dysmorphia, like fucked up body. Uh, what is that genre called that David Cronenberg is known for?
Body horror. Like,
Yeah. So, but you've got the Elephant Man, and then you've got Eraserhead, which both are fine movies, but I guess I do agree with you. Like I don't love either of those movies. I appreciate them for how bizarre they are and how weird they are, but like I don't love either of them. They're both good movies, and you can definitely see like
sure.
how he started his career with those. But man, I'm really starting to think that you might be right about this. Do you have feelings on either one? Do you love or really like either of those?
I always thought the Elephant Man was just kind of boring. like,
Good
and
performances though, but I can definitely agree it's a slow movie.
honestly, like fucking Eraserhead is like, it's not my, it's not my vibe. And
Okay.
the thing is, like, I'm so loath to say anything negative because, like, the people that love Eraserhead, like, really love Eraserhead. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, dude, that's your thing. That's cool. It's not my
Agree.
thing.
I
Like,
agree.
that's all I can really say. Like, like, and
So
so, like,
then the next category I've got are the two most non-Lynchian David Lynch films. And
okay, the
that's
straight story
Dune
is one of them.
and Straight Story. Exactly. Which Straight Story, like I said, for the Shane Talks 99 podcast, I just recently watched it. I want to say back in October. The movie is so good. Like you would never. I remember the day I found out that that was directed by David Lynch, and I was like, Lost Highway, David Lynch, and they were like, yes, because Lost Highway was my big jam. Like obviously, Twin Peaks and Lost Highway were like my David Lynch at that point. It was before Mulholland Drive, but like Dave Lichty told me. I don't know how I missed it, how I didn't know it, but like Dave Lichty mentioned to me, yeah, the Straight Story. We were talking about how great of a movie it was. And he was like, yeah, David Lynch directed it. I'm like, whoa, 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 like Lost Highway, David Lynch, and that was just one of my moments where I was just like, this guy can do anything, and that movie still holds up. It is so like it's rated G, it's told linear, It just has great character development. I think it's also the only movie that he ever directed that he didn't write. So the fact that he took somebody else's script and directed it, it's such a great movie. Like he probably could have had a really great career just directing shit like Spielberg, like just directing epic stories. Because I felt like he got great performances, and I felt like it looked really good. I don't even know who his. I assume he used his normal cinematographer, but I don't know for a fact. I mean, it was a Disney movie, so like, and then there's Dune, super mega sci-fi. And the weird thing about Dune is like, number one, I hate both of the new Dunes. I want nothing to do with the new Dunes. I've never read any of the books, so I'm not like a hardcore. I need everything to be like the book. But like growing up as a kid who loved Star Wars and Star Trek and sci-fi and outer space, like Dune gave me what I wanted in all of that. So like Dune has this like nostalgic place for me where like I understand it's not a great movie and I've heard it's a terrible adaptation of the series. But like I as a as a 10-year-old kid watching it thought it was awesome and a lot of fun. So I've always been very nostalgic for Dune, even though I'll admit it's not great or anything. But do you have thoughts or feelings on either of what I consider his most non-Lynchian films?
Um, I really like the Straight Story as well. I I think at that point that might have been like kind of like the weirdest thing he could have done. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
sure. Yeah,
Like
for
he's just
sure.
like, let me. He's like, oh, y'all think that's weird? Check this out. And he's like, I'm gonna go make like basically like a fucking Disney Channel movie. Like, like I was just like, okay, cool, man. Like, fucking do your thing, dog. Um, I
Definitely.
so I'm kind of down. Like, I'm really down with that. Like, I've always like I'm a huge fan of a curveball, and like
Sure.
especially from somebody who like had raised the bar so high on like there's nothing I can do to like freak these people out anymore. So like let's just go the out. It's like when your buddy. It's like when the hippie guy shows up in a suit. It's just like, oh, whoa. It's like fucking the Stray Story is basically like David Lynch coming down the stairs and she's all that. It's like, oh, he took off his glasses. This guy's fucking hot as shit. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, dude.
I'm thinking about it, like I think I'm really happy that I didn't know it was David Lynch the first time I watched it because I think if I was watching it and they're going, "Oh, it's a David Lynch movie," when's shit gonna get weird? Like, oh my God, the third act is gonna be so
See,
bonkers, right?
that might have actually added to the whole thing. Like, like it was like when it's like when is something really fucked up going to happen? Like, and then the thing about Dune is like, okay, man, I love Patrick Stewart.
Sure.
So Patrick Stewart in that movie fucking dominates. Like the
Yeah,
entire
absolutely.
fucking every scene he's in is just fucking gold. But the thing I really like about Dune is like, man, okay, so like Denis Villeneuve made the two Dune movies, right?
Yeah.
And he basically covered everything that was covered in David Lynch's Dune, and it took him like 5 to 6 hours to do it. And I saw both of these movies, and I'm still kind of like, I don't really get everything. Like, I'm like, dude, maybe some more details here. Like, and so what I find super impressive about David Lynch is like he crammed two books of this shit into here.
Yep.
Sting is fucking in
Yep.
the movie, which fucking rules. But
Yep.
no, fucking he crammed two books into like 90 minutes
Yep.
essentially. And like I didn't even give a fuck because vibes.
Yep.
Like so like I'm in. Like I actually like Dune. It's probably like one of my five favorite David Lynch movies, strictly off of like entertainment
Awesome.
value. That's another one that I recently saw in the theater like
Oh,
last summer.
really?
As part of they do at Can they do like this the AV club, and then once a month, um a guy who hosts a podcast, the Walter Paisley Movie House, pretty fun B movie podcast. Hosts a movie that it's like $10. It basically funds the free movies for the AV club on Monday nights. But it's always some like exploitation or something weird or just something like, I've seen like Bloodsport there. I've seen like movies that were like Texas Chainsaw Massacre level
Oh,
exploitation films that I had never heard of.
oh wow.
I saw Bloodsport there. It's just kind of like whatever, dude. It's just like, and so last year they showed Dude to a largely full theater, and you know what, man? People were rocking with it, man. It's a really entertaining film. It's
Nice.
really fucking good. I enjoyed it.
All right. Now we've got the five, again, not counting Twin Peaks right now, the five, what I consider the most Lynchian films. Like this, when I think of David Lynch, these are the five films that I think of. Obviously, I've already mentioned that Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive are my two favorite films of his. I literally could talk about both of those movies forever, for hours. Lost Highway was a huge influence on me, just as far as narrative storytelling going goes. In 2002, Gemini Films did a movie called Escape that was literally my attempt at making a David Lynchian film. Very film noir, very told circular, very, trying to, doing the duality of women stuff. Just, it was literally me ripping off Lost Highway. Like, but I absolutely love Lost Highway. Mulholland Drive is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen that I love. Like I watched it 10 times in the theater at Castleton Arts because Dave Lichty would show it to me at the end of days. So I could write notes and take notes. And I meant to grab them. I recently found my like handwritten dissertation that I did on Mulholland Drive and all of the clues and all of the things that I felt were important in both the reality and the dream of Mulholland Drive. And just Mulholland Drive is one of those think pieces that just made me just like I said, I love David Lynch from Lost Highway, but Mulholland Drive is the one that put it over the edge for me. Um, but you made it sound like you're not a big Lost Highway fan, so I am assuming that Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart are more your style David Lynch films. Would that
Yeah,
be
yeah,
correct? And like I
yeah,
love
definitely.
Wild at Heart because Nicolas Cage and David Lynch together was one of the greatest things ever. Obviously, Laura Dern is amazing. Blue Velvet was really good for the mystery aspect of it, and like one thing that Lynch does really great is the peeling back the onions of like suburbia and showing you how fucked up things are underneath that. And I think,
Kind of like the dark
uh,
underbelly of things.
and I think
Yeah, yeah.
Blue Velvet does that the best.
Yeah, Blue Velvet definitely does that the best. Wild at Heart is kind of I think that's kind of like the furthest extent to which I kind of like the like balls to the wall, like this doesn't have to make senseness part of it. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure.
Um, because like yeah, the thing with Lost Highway is just kind of like Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire are movies that like, hmm, how do I say this, man? Like if
Will not be
somebody
offended.
if somebody lesser or without the reputation of David Lynch at that point had and you know what? I'll include like Fire Walk with Me in this because I really fucking hated the way the original Twin Peaks series ended. Um,
Okay, okay.
if like if somebody that did not have like the banked cachet of work that he had had up to that point had made these things, I would have just been like fraud alert and then just moved on.
Okay.
I honestly think Lost Highway is like a thing where like there are some good scenes in that movie. There are some good scenes in Mulholland Drive. Um, I just feel like those movies are so like maybe like so interior to like his own mindset that they almost just like will always remain like half baked in a way.
Hmm.
Like like I don't feel like he made those movies for people to like enjoy or to like really
Okay.
even get anything out of. Like um I'm always weary of movies that like don't have because okay like the thing is like I find it interesting that you group like Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart in with those movies because like the thing about like Blue Velvet is like it has a take, it has like a fucking underlying idea that like it's just like no, this is here, this is what it is, man. It's like
Okay.
Heineken,
Okay.
man, like fuck that shit, dude. Pabst Blue Ribbon, like this is not like no, it's like you think this is one thing and this is really
Sure.
just a different thing. And
Hmm.
so
Okay.
like but that's the take. That's the like fucking honest to God. Like what's the point? Like what is he trying to say in The Lost Highway? What is he trying to say in Mulholland Drive? I'm not saying that those movies don't have things that they're saying, but I don't think that there's like a cohesive idea that like holds them together and makes me think that this is like a fully grown idea from somebody who like really like had to make this, like this was. And so like I've always just kind of considered them just kind of like, yeah, he did it because he wanted to work with his buddies and he wanted to like, he kind of wanted to like explore this thing, but like he didn't actually want to like fucking like, he just wanted to explore it. He just wanted to
So
play.
both
So
of the
they're always just kind of
films.
like movies that I'm just kind of like, these just feel half done. These don't feel like complete in any real way.
So, I mean, and I don't want to argue with you, but both of those films, from my perspective, are people at the end of their lives reflecting back on how they wish their life would have been. Bill Pullman's character goes to the electric chair, and then as he is dying, he replays his life as if he was somebody else who then takes over his life and is the person is very much a Tyler Durden thing, in my opinion. Like he sees his life the way he wished it was and not how it ended up playing out. And similar with Mulholland Drive. With Mulholland Drive, um, Naomi Watts realizes that she is probably going to be going to jail for the rest of her life for having Camilla Rhodes killed. So she ends up overdosing on drugs and has her whole dream. That's the majority of the film, and well, not even the majority, like 2/3 of the film being her whatever, I mean, being her dream, and then waking up from her dream and realizing that, oh, I didn't overdose. I'm still in trouble. Now I actually have to kill myself. Like, but when she was in her drug-induced dream, she was seeing her life how she wished it was when she came to Hollywood and how she wanted to be the actress. And then, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like both of those movies just have so many layers of onions to peel back that there's just so much think piece stuff going on with them, which is why I grew up in with Blue Velvet, because Blue Velvet, not that it has the same, reality versus dream aspect to it, but there's a lot of stuff in Blue Velvet that, as Kyle MacLachlan's character keeps finding out more and going deeper and deeper, he realizes how terrible of a city it is that he lives in and how much like dark shit is going on underneath, the bright and sunny daylight that the movie opens with. Um, but yeah, and then I mean, obviously, Wild at Heart has a lot of really bonkers stuff in it on his like Wizard of Oz journey that Nicolas Cage's character goes on. But yeah, there's definitely stuff in Wild at Heart that just comes out of nowhere that you aren't expecting. And I'm so torn with you on Inland Empire because, like, I actually
That movie was like
almost
12
what was that?
hours long. That movie
It,
was
it
like
was
12 hours long.
It was very long. I actually went up to Chicago in January of 2007. I saw Inland Empire at the Music Box Theater, and David Lynch did a Q&A after it. So yeah, I
That would
sat
be,
through a three
I
and
could
a half
probably sit
hour
through it.
long.
I could sit
Well,
through that for that, I
yeah,
think.
I
But
sat through that so that I could then sit through 2 hours of him talking not about the movie at all, because anybody that knows David Lynch, he doesn't like really talking about his movies or his creative process or his stories or what he was trying to say. He pretty much avoids all of that. So he answered some questions and didn't answer others. I mean, it was awesome to be in the same room with the guy, but a lot of people tried to ask him questions about Inland Empire and he refused to answer them because I agree. Like, I
because
want to
that
think
would
there's
require
something.
like a full thought and a fully baked thing. Have you ever heard that have you ever heard that thing where like I can't remember who said it, but like basically they said that like every David Lynch movie is basically just him trying to like relitigate The Wizard of Oz.
No. I mean,
And
I
honestly,
know the parallels. I know the
if you
parallels in
start
Wild at Heart.
well, no, if you start going through like the whole thing, like what you just said about the Lost Highway, he's like sitting there on death row and he has this dream about the way his life is supposed to be, and then he wakes up, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this other thing takes over his life. I'm like, yeah, that's and you said what you said about Mulholland Drive, where she was like, oh, da da da, and then she has this like 2 hour, 2/3 of the movie dream
okay.
sequence that she wakes up from, and she's still in her reality, and I'm like, wow, that sounds a lot like Wizard of Oz. And so like obviously
Okay.
Wild at Heart is the most on the nose about this thing.
Sure.
Um, but no, like almost anything, like like a Kyle MacLachlan, like in Blue Velvet. Like one could argue that like the lesson he learns is that there's no place like home. Um, and
Okay, okay.
he's done fucking around with Dennis Hopper. You know, he's just like, please get me back to my parents' house. I want to just work at the hardware store and fucking not be in this seedy underbelly of the world. Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, I mean, you know, like I think that's a really fun like way to look at it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's like it's really reductive in a way, but like at the same time, you know, like David Lynch is like a pretty renowned fan of like the
Yeah,
fucking
The Wizard of Oz.
yeah, the Wizard
There's a
of Oz.
documentary that I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but it's literally called Lynch Oz. And it's apparently him talking about how much he loved The Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. Like, I
Well,
need to look it. I
well,
haven't watched it.
there's a certain strand of cultural theory out there that believes that like he only ever made and remade and
Wizard of
reworked the
Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
Interesting. Huh. Did you know that Mulholland Drive was originally supposed to be a spin-off of Twin Peaks? It was
that
originally written.
that makes sense.
It was written for Audrey Horne's character was supposed to be the one that ended up having amnesia. Like obviously it got reworked when it became Mulholland Drive, but I guess the genesis of it was Audrey Horne's character ended up with amnesia, and then it was going to be another television show like trying to figure out who she was. And so that's kind of interesting. So, do you know what the first David Lynch movie I ever saw was?
I would have no idea.
Fire Walk with Me. Oh, there we go. Fire
Oh
Walk
wow,
with Me. It was the first David Lynch movie I ever saw. It would have been like 95-ish. I was at the
you know
Marsh
the
video
first.
store on a Friday night, just perusing through VHS tapes, and all of a sudden I saw this one that's got this really hot blonde girl with a half heart on fire, and I said, "Oh, I feel like that's what I want to watch tonight." I had no idea what I was getting involved with, and I had no idea that I was literally watching the final thing of something that I had no idea what Twin Peaks even was. So I definitely experienced David Lynch in a very David Lynchian way, like completely out of order. Um, and then I like so it would have been closer to 99, you know, when I learned about, you know, Lost Highway hanging out at Castleton Arts and stuff like that. Got into Lost Highway, started, you know, learning more. I remember the first time I watched Blue Velvet was because Dave and Scott told me to watch it. Um, Definitely 99, 2000 was when I became very big into David Lynch, but like falling in love with Twin Peaks, the television show, because of Castleton Arts is just absolutely epic and amazing. And um, when you said when you were talking about Fire Walk with Me and you said because you hated how Twin Peaks ended, are you talking about the second season of Twin Peaks?
I okay, dude. Like, man, it's been such a long time since I watched Twin Peaks. Like,
Yeah.
okay, when they end up in the doom loop of the room that you are currently using as a backdrop,
Yep. Yep.
I am done.
Okay. Okay. So
I'm
yeah.
just like, I'm like, this is cool, like half baked. I'm sorry, man. I came here for uh weird stilted dialogue, cherry pie, and fucking
Hmm.
coffee. Like
Okay.
everything else, when it gets into like, oh, maybe Laura
Yeah.
Palmer is in Satan's grasp or
Sure.
whatever. I'm like, nah, dude. When they have little midget running around, he's like, rah, 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 rah. No. I'm
All
like,
right.
that's cool. It's clear that you know, like, I is it honorable to like do what he did over like taking the lost way out and just being like, oh, it was all a dream or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I think they're
Okay.
both cop outs. I think they're both
Okay.
like, look, we had this really great premise that we just didn't know how to fucking end it, and we didn't know
Sure.
how to what to do with it, and it's just like, so we're just gonna go weird as shit, and I'm just kind of like, that only flies with me so much. Um,
Okay.
can I say one thing though?
Yeah. Go for it.
The
Go. Yeah.
first the first David Lynch movie that I ever saw is
Mhm.
possibly my favorite David Lynch movie.
Which
Um,
one?
the Wicked Game video by Chris Isaac.
I am not familiar with that.
Okay,
Not familiar with it.
have you ever heard Wicked Game by Chris Isaac? Um,
Not off the top of my head, but if I heard
oh
it,
my
maybe I
god,
have heard it.
sounds like vaguely like Roy Orbison. Chris Isaac was like it had been out a while, and then he used it in Wild at Heart, in
Ah.
like a preview, and it became like, you know, like a VH1 staple for like the next like 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Uh, really great video. It's just Chris Isaac on a beach with like Helena Christensen being like super sexy. It's like fucking rad.
Okay.
So good.
So what I was going to say is, as far as Twin Peaks goes, in my life, uh, in relationships I've been in, I have twice sat down to watch Twin Peaks with my significant other, and we watch all of the first season because I absolutely love the first season. Once we get to the second season, when they solve Laura Palmer's murder, because uh, the European DVD of Twin Peaks actually has the European ending where they released Twin Peaks as a movie and not a pilot, where they've got the completely like jacked up version of who Bob was. Um, when you get to in the second season of Twin Peaks, I want to say it's episode 6, they finally solve the murder of Laura Palmer. I've literally stopped it with everybody that I was showing the show, the two significant others I've had that I've watched the show with. I've stopped it there and I've been like, we don't need to watch anything else because I, like you, didn't care about the second half of season 2 of Twin Peaks until the return happened. Did you watch any of Twin Peaks: The Return?
No, nope.
No?
At
Okay.
that point, like, dude, I was so far gone that I was just like, I don't want
Okay.
to do this anymore.
It's so, because Twin Peaks: The Return barely has anything to do with the city itself. It's mostly set in New York City and some other Midwest areas and whatnot. It expanded the mythology of what was actually going on in Twin Peaks to the point where I realized, okay, the second half of season 2 that I hate, that I think is complete garbage, now really makes a lot more sense to me. And again, it's retconning stuff. It was them 20 years later going, okay, how can we make the second half of the season make sense to what was there? Let's expand on this universe and show you what was really going on and what the real bad guy is, and that this was just a small piece of this larger puzzle that was going on in the entire world that involves, it involves so much bonkers stuff. But I don't, I have a better appreciation now of the second half of the show, or the second season of Twin Peaks, after what they did with quote unquote season 3, The Return. Um, but I agree with you for the most part. Like, for the most part, getting up until they solved Laura Palmer's murder used to be all that I cared about with Twin Peaks. So that was all the stuff that I wanted to. That's why I wanted to save it for the end to just kind of talk about all of that stuff and how it all comes full circle. And someday, maybe if you ever are in the mood, I think The Return is worth your time if you want very Lynchian stuff. It's very, let's give you some answers, but then have a lot more questions as to what's going on. But like, there's it kind of gives you a better explanation of understanding of what the true evil is in this universe, more so than I expected that they would have. And I mean, granted, there's still a lot of open-ended stuff at the end of The Return, but I feel like we got a lot of good explanation about what they were trying to do with the mythos of evil as far as Twin Peaks and Laura Palmer goes, and Bob and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. That was everything that I wanted to talk about David Lynch wise. On the main podcast, we are not doing a Mount Rushmore this month. You got a Mount Rushmore of anything you want to talk about?
Um, Not particularly.
Okay.
I'll give you like a personal Mount Rushmore of
Okay.
things that have interested me the most in 2025. Um, I
Well,
guess
we are one month into 2025. You got 4 things that are interesting already?
I've got 4 things that I like. I've kind of been down with thus far.
Okay.
Uh, One, for whatever reason, like I'm having a really big like Madonna resurgence in my life. like,
Okay. Okay.
I I don't know why, but like I sat down and I watched the movie Desperately Seeking Susan, and that
Okay.
and that movie is fucking rad in a way that I did not
Okay.
think it was rad when I was like
I have
16 or
not seen it
whatever.
in a long time.
Dude, it's so good. I was just like really into it. Like, Madonna, like circa 1985, had like probably like the greatest body I think I've ever seen a human being have. She was so hot.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
dude, 80s bangers. Yeah. Open Your Heart is a really good one. Get Into the Groove is probably like my favorite Madonna song, and then Take a Bow is like a really like
Oh,
beautiful
think
song.
about it was a good song. What
Madonna
was that
is on
in with honors? Was that in with honors? Take a
Take a
bow?
Bow. No, it was on a.
It was in
I
like
think
a early 90s soundtrack.
there was a With Honors song, but that was not it.
Okay.
Take a Bow just had that really great video with the bullfighter. and like Madonna writhing on the bed. It was on Bedtime Stories. I don't know that it's in a movie, but it could be.
I I really believe that it was.
But no, the With
Uh,
Honor song. I remember that video too. She had like black hair at that point, but
okay,
whatever. Whatever. Yeah, Madonna rules.
okay.
Just 100. Number two, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Pacers of hockey. Uh, all like, they hold some sort of like belief that they are like the home
It
or
was on the
the
soundtrack for With Honors. I was correct.
really take a bow.
Take it out. Yes.
Hmm, crazy. Um,
That's like the-
so yeah, fucking
Dude, the Detroit Red Wings are doing such garbage right now. I should have put my Red Wings hat on when I saw that you were wearing that Maple Leafs crap. But
um,
yeah.
probably never
So
gonna win a
anyway,
title. Always gonna make the playoffs. They believe
gotcha.
they're the ancestral home of their sport. Nothing reeks of Indiana Pacerdom quite like that. Um, so so I gotta support my ice skating brethren up north,
Okay.
the Leafs.
Okay.
Go
All
Leafs,
right. So
eh?
Madonna, the
We
Leafs.
got that. We got Madonna. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs. I recently watched Rock and Roll High School. Have you seen this movie with the Ramones? Oh my
No.
god, dude, the
Rock and Roll
Ramones.
High School. Okay.
Rock and Roll High School. It was made in the year of my birth, 1979.
Okay.
Um, it is fucking rad. It is the most like innocent movie that will ever end with a school being blown up because punk rock
Okay.
rules and the Ramones are
Okay.
dope. And then number four, yeah, just to re-up that membership at the Can. I have not seen anything that I actually like yet on the membership. That's not their fault. That's the brutalist's fault.
Oh,
Fucking, and so yeah, no, but yeah, here's to another like 150 fucking movies coming this year that I'm gonna go see.
150 movies, huh? Okay. Is that how many you saw last year?
No, I did 125 last year on the
Okay.
membership.
I mean, that's still legit. That's at least two a week, man. That is legit.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were some that I went to that I actually paid for. So, but yeah, I mean,
That's pretty dope.
membership has its privileges. Come out, support the Can, and they're always on my
I
Mount Rushmore.
will come out and I will support the can for Wild at Heart for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll send you the link when we get done
Cool.
with that.
All right, man. Sounds good. All right, brother.
I see
Is
you're wearing
this
the
what's
Artcraft shirt too.
I am wearing the art craft suit, man. I was just there a couple of days ago. I
You go see the Fifth Element.
went and saw the Fifth Element. Yeah, the Fifth Element. My buddy Ben. It's his all-time favorite movie. So I was like, bro, it's playing at the art craft. Let's go see it in 35 millimeter. So we had like a bros date night. Went to dinner at the Willard beforehand, and then caught the movie. Yeah, it was a really good time.
That's a
Which
really
it's
great Chris
funny.
Tucker performance.
It is a wonderful Chris Tucker performance that was originally written for Prince.
That makes a lot of sense. I actually think Chris Tucker playing Prince is better than Prince playing
Then
Prince.
Prince, with Prince, I can see that.
If I'm going to make a movie, like honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, Chris
You been
Tucker.
to the art craft at all recently?
I haven't been there this year yet.
Okay.
I tried to go see the Elvis movie, but it was like the week of the blizzard, and I was just like, I don't want to fucking drive down there. And then I know James Dean weekend is coming up, not
Yep.
this weekend, but like next weekend maybe.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'll
it's the
probably get,
eighth or whatever.
yeah, yeah. So I'm probably gonna get down there to see either Rebel or East of Eden.
Right on. Both amazing movies.
Might see Giant. I haven't seen that in a long time either. I don't know. Maybe I'll just try and stay the whole fucking weekend. Who
There
knows?
you go. I'm kind of sad on the night before Thanksgiving, they're showing The Cutting Edge, and I was kind of disappointed because I have plans that night, so I can't go see The Cutting Edge until I saw the ad for it, and they're like, "We're gonna leave the lights up. Bring your knitting needles and
Oh
shit
yeah,
with
no,
you." So
they do the Thursday like knitting movies, like so that you can like the craft and the cinema craft movie. Yeah, yeah. I recently watched The Cutting
that
Edge with
pisses
Maple.
me off.
I recently watched The Cutting Edge with Maple
Awesome.
because I
How'd
was
she
just
like it?
like,
She like it?
yeah, she liked it. She kind of thought it was kind of like she thought it was a little bit lifetimey,
Okay,
um, which is true. Like you can tell that from the credits.
for
Like
sure.
it's in that like very like white Lifetime font, like that just says, "Oh, is this made for cable? Maybe."
Bro, I love that movie. Joe
Oh
Cocker
no, I
has
love that
the
movie.
song
Like,
in it. Oh
dude,
man, I love
Moira
that
Kelly
movie so
can
much. Moira
Kelly
Kelly,
can
yep.
do. no fucking wrong with
D.B.
me.
Sweetie, Terry
I was a big
O'Quinn.
I was a big TV Sweeney fan. Yeah, Terry
Yep.
O'Quinn. Yeah, no, I really enjoy that.
Dude, the Cutting Edge is so good.
Yeah. The Cutting Edge is
Cool.
one of
Speaking
the
of
great
Mabel,
movies.
anything
Oh,
else like The Cutting Edge you've shown her recently?
fuck, dude. You know who wrote The Cutting Edge, right? Tony
Uh,
Gilroy.
oh, the dude that did all the fucking like '90s action movies.
Like Tony Gilroy, man, like wrote The fucking Cutting Edge. Like, and I was just like, this will not be on Tony Gilroy's fucking the first sentence of Tony Gilroy's obituary, but it should be. That was my
Dude,
letterbox
that's
review.
awesome. I don't think I put that together. That's awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah, no, like it was one of those things. It was that happened to me yesterday. I was watching 10 Cloverfield Lane, and at the end, the credits
Okay,
come up, and it's like written by Damien Chazelle, and I was like,
makes
that
sense.
like La La Land.
That's
Okay,
okay.
sure. And I was like, man, it takes all kinds, bro.
It
Like
does.
writer credits are hilarious.
All right, brother. It has been a pleasure. We went kind of long. Well, we had some catching up to do. We had a lot of David Lynch stuff to talk about, but brother, I appreciate you. I always love chatting with you. We will
It's
go
like
see Wild at Heart together, and then we'll be back in a month for another conversation. All right?
it's like Inland Empire, man. We went long because we just didn't know how to end it. Peace.
Fact. Thank you, Shane and Troy. Yeah, David Lynch, amazing director. While we were on our break, I was able to look up and see that Garrett Miller and I first laid eyes on each other on March 16th of 2017, as Ryan was posing with a bottle of Lakefront Smash Ale at Joe's Castleton back in 2017. So beautiful, sexy picture of you there, my friend. Yeah. So that was that. That was David Lynch. That was long, but that's kind of what Shane and Troy do. So we are now hitting our feature presentation. This is the whole reason we got the Miller brothers on here tonight, because there are these absolutely stupid and ridiculous movies that they, for whatever reason, are going to try to convince me have good story arcs. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. So
Mark.
the first thing that we have to start with, and this is the most ridiculous one on this whole list of the entire movies that we're going to be talking about tonight. I think this has to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm somebody who loves Christmas movies. But there's a movie called The Night They Saved Christmas, and that literally has to be one of the absolute worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't, and again, I love Christmas
And
movies. I
I'm
don't
out.
mind Christmas movies at all. But
Garrett ends conversations.
But 3 years ago, I was taken in by the Miller family. I became their little lonely Christmas orphan that they took into their family at Christmas time. And I remember sitting down in the Miller parents' living room, and Garrett pulls out a VCR, and I'm like, "What in the fuck are we doing with a VCR?" Like, I got excited. I enjoy VCR media. And he plugs everything in and up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what are we about to like? What is this?" And then he made me sit through, he made the entire family sit through The Night They Saved Christmas. And man, now here's the thing, Garrett, I love and appreciate how you have your 1986, 84 recorded VHS copy of this movie. I 100% give you props for that. The commercials are way better than actually watching the movie. And for whatever reason, you fast forward through most of the commercials, which is kind of annoying. But Ryan,
84.
you've been dealing with this for 30 plus years, man. What are your feelings on this movie?
So you said you're going to try to convince us that the story arc, or we're supposed to convince you the story arc is good. That's tough.
Okay.
As far as the movie goes, it's a wonderful film because of nostalgia, and this is the film. So every single Christmas since I was two, I started watching that. So every Christmas Eve, my whole life, we watched The Night They Saved Christmas. So it obviously became a big part, and that's why we watched that one, because it has those commercials that we've been watching for 40 years. I mean, 40 years we've been watching it, and it's not a bad movie. It's got plenty of cute parts and fun. And the fact that you hate on it so much doesn't scream invite me back for steak and chicken fondue.
All right. So I will admit that that is entirely in jest. I just wanted to start that off throwing it at Garrett. I don't think it's a great movie, but I absolutely love your family's nostalgia around it. Watching the VHS tape every year. I sadly, well, I don't know if sadly is the right word. I only showed up for the second half of it this year. I was running late this year, and you're like, "Bro, we're starting the movie," and I'm like, "You can start it without me. It's okay. I've seen it the last 2 years."
Art Carney plays Santa Claus.
He does.
Great Santa Claus.
That's Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite second cousin.
Cousin.
It does have a Charlie's Angel in it also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Claudia.
and again, it's not a bad movie. I just wanted to give Garrett some flack for this because of it is. Ryan, or I'm sorry, Jason, have you ever even seen the movie The Night They Saved Christmas?
I had to look it up because I had no idea what you were talking about.
I think at Christmas time it goes on to Hulu. So next Christmas, 2025, go to Hulu and look up Night They Saved Christmas. You won't get the commercials, but you'll still get the movie, and it's great. And there's a great story arc to it. I mean, it really does have.
Hey man, but you also Art Carney, while being the favorite second cousin of Arnold Schwarzenegger, he also was he was in the Star Wars holiday special. So there's all sorts of wonderfulness that's coming out of this film, apparently.
Carney was in the holiday special. What was that?
Star Wars Holiday Special? Oh, you haven't seen that? I have
That's what Shane watches every year.
That's what I watch every year at Christmas, and it's terrible. I'll admit to that. It is absolute garbage.
What about Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor?
Oh, those are. Battle for Endor. Like I was age appropriate for Battle for Endor.
It was so good. Like Battle for Endor was more exciting than Caravan. Caravan of Courage was like serious.
Yep.
And scary as shit. Like when you get to the end part with the giant and the spiders. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Oh no. Is Ryan's internet starting to go bad, or is my internet going bad?
Narrated by the Christmas guy, Christmas singer. Because it always makes me feel like a Christmas movie watching it because it's.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
York Adventure. Narrator.
Burl
Ives. There you go.
Movie.
Do what?
Okay.
Yeah, Burl Ives.
I always knew it as the Ewok Adventure movie, but the Caravan of Courage was its original title.
Yeah, okay. Caravan of Courage was that one, and then the other one is where they take on like the monsters, alien things that are in the castle. With
fun, man.
With Walter Brimley.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah. Diabetes.
There's no little speed. You get the little speed thing in Findle.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You guys remember?
They take off in the ship at the end and they save themselves. And the ship is pretty much an ark.
Oh, you guys are all ridiculous. All right.
Hey, what's his name in that? What's his name in that? Noah.
I didn't remember that part. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Ryan's out.
Deuces.
Chalk that one up.
All right. Let's get to the list of movies that actually are ones that, as we've been hanging out over the last year or so, have come up. And we have literally been like, okay, let's argue and debate these movies. And the first one is one that I just did a podcast on back in, I want to say, like August. And it's because it came out in the year 1999. And it is a piece of garbage. And I don't understand. I mean, I get it. Betty White says a couple of funny things in this movie. That does not save Lake Placid for me. What about Lake Placid is actually enjoyable? Like, what in the story of Lake Placid is not completely stupid and like just it's terrible. The writing is terrible. The plot is dumb. Like it's not there's nothing enjoyable about watching that movie. And yes, I get it. Betty White curses a couple of times. I would rather watch The Proposal, where I feel like she's far more sexual than she is in the two stupid things she says in this movie. Sell me on Lake Placid.
Well, if you're just focused on Betty White, she's in the movie for a total of
5 minutes.
A minute and a half.
Just a
Yeah,
couple minutes.
but every time I tell
everything by
somebody
Brendan-
that Lake Placid is
Oliver-
terrible, their argument to me is, but Betty White's great.
No, that's not our argument.
That's not an argument for me.
That's
Every
not our
single thing
argument,
that comes
though.
out of Oliver Platt's mouth is funny. The entire
It's
movie.
hilarious.
Brendan Gleeson does a great job. He plays an angry old police chief, and how many times has he played that role and not killed it? Like, all he does is play the same angry guy for a lot of this stuff, and you're like, God, that's good again.
Dude, it's Anaconda with a crocodile. Like, I mean,
Jaws.
yeah, it's stupid for being stupid. Like it works. It's not
But Anaconda. So they didn't like add any comedy in that I can almost place in.
the wink. The wink alone makes it a comedy.
I'll just say the way he sits
The
there
snake
and stares at
winking.
Jennifer Lopez. Where it's like,
John Boy gets like regurgitated and he like falls out and,
yeah.
and then he falls over. And I like Anaconda's ridiculously stupid too. Lake Placid is on the same level as
But
that.
I don't think that Lake Placid was like trying to really, really make you scared of alligators, where I think Anaconda was like, be scared of snakes, maybe.
I think they're all in the same.
I think the dialogue was written so much better in Lake Placid than it was in Anaconda. Where
Okay.
Anaconda, I thought the whole time they were just trying to make a genuine horror movie, where I think that Lake Placid is seen as a comedy first, horror second.
Okay.
Like, if you're going to scale them, it would definitely be comedy would be the first thing that you talk about that movie is the comedy.
So it's your
The
Piranha.
thing.
It's Piranha all over again.
IMDb listed as action comedy horror. So like it's comedy in there, man. And they do a good job with that comedy, adding into the seriousness kind of horror kind of mixture to it with a comedy. And like again, Oliver Platt just so perfect with his one-liners, his quips, his just comebacks. Everything about that was so good. But again, it reminded me a little bit of like back in the day watching Jaws. Like you're just when it comes to the horror, like Jaws is one of those scary movies to me that it terrified me. I hated jumping in swimming pools because I was afraid there was a shark after me. So like again, watching a Lake Placid reminded me, gave me hints of Jaws, gave me hints of that feeling a little bit because I go to a lake every year. And there's times where I go in that lake now, and I'm like, I wonder if somebody's been feeding cows to an alligator in here. You never know.
Oliver Platt's
sounds like
comedic timing is awesome. I love Oliver Platt's comedic timing in the whole movie. Like, I didn't realize, especially at that point, I had no idea he had that range. The last one that I saw with him before that in the early 90s was some weird snuff thing. So it was nice to see him on the other side, you know?
Some weird snuff thing. I'm not sure what that
It
is.
was-
I saw him in Three
that was-
Musketeers.
Oh, that was he. And look how great Porthos the pirate is.
Porthos. I was taking care of something ugly.
Hmm. All right. Well, it sounds like I'm definitely outvoted on that one. Now, another one from 1999 and another one that is garbage is 13 Ghosts.
And aren't
Like-
they coming out with a series on this one for each ghost to tell the
Yeah.
I think you're right about it.
Supposed
Netflix
to.
or somebody is doing a series, turning it into a series. But like 13
Supposed to.
Ghosts was absolutely stupid.
I think my favorite part about 13 Ghosts is the actual ghosts and not the movie as a whole. And I think they
Okay.
really kind of missed the mark on that, where they spent too much time with who gives a shit about the people in the house. The 13 Ghosts are like where any of the story is. And I think they missed the mark on that, but I'd love to see what that develops.
Yeah, I'm excited for if they do come out with the series because you get to see that the 13, the ghosts, the history of all the different ghosts. I'm surprised, Shane, though, you didn't like it because of Matthew Lillard being in it.
I
sure
love
he stole it.
Matthew Lillard. And so
I
I think
know.
I was highly disappointed by his choice to do such a garbage film.
Is it because they killed him off? Is that really what it is?
But he got
I
to
mean,
redeem himself. That's part of his what's it called?
It's, I love you guys so much. Jason, do you have opinions on 13 Ghosts? Please tell me you think it's a bad movie.
I honestly don't remember much of it. I know I saw it in the theaters when it got released. I have not watched it since. Don't
Because
recall.
it's not worth your time. Yeah, it's a bad movie. I'm gonna call that a win for me. That you haven't
That's
rewatched it.
I don't think
Now,
it's a good movie.
here's the one that I'm sure I'm gonna get outvoted on this one. The opening scene of this movie alone ruins it for me. Absolutely
Oh,
ruins it. When you take a medieval film and open it with "We Will Rock You" by Queen, it's not even just the fact that it's that song opening the film, it's the fact that you have audience participation by the people in the stands addressing the fact that a song that doesn't come out for 300 years is being played. I literally was taken out of the movie from the first minute of A Knight's Tale. I get it. A Knight's Tale has an amazing cast. I love all four of the main characters of A Knight's Tale. I think they have all gone on to do amazing things that I have enjoyed in my life. I don't think A Knight's Tale plays as a good movie. And I'm sure I am in the minority out of the four of us.
This one was a lot of fun, taking an old movie, putting in some contemporary stuff with it, and making. I mean, to me, the dance scene where they have David Bowie, like it's such a fun movie. Like to me, again, it took me away from where I was, and like took me into watching. I was watching this movie where you had knights dancing to David Bowie. You had people singing "We Will Rock You" in the stands for a night. I mean, it was. I think I watched it sometime right after I went to Medieval Times in Chicago, and it's like you go there and then you see this movie and you're like, it brings this like current twist into medieval. It's a lot of fun and I think it's very creative.
I think you're trying to push this movie into a category that like it doesn't deserve to be in by saying that it's just not a good film. It's a teenage rom-com. It's meant for kids like 12 to 19. Like that's your audience. Like it shouldn't.
21 when the movie came out, so I guess I just missed it a little bit.
Maybe like forget what it was like to be that teenager during those times. But I mean, that's what the movie was made for. I mean, it wasn't made to be your next medieval epic. It wasn't supposed to be this 3 hour true to the time period piece about what life was like, fighting on horses. Like that wasn't
Gladiator or Braveheart.
I mean, those period pieces are their own thing, but this is just it's a teenage rom-com. I mean, it's a not even coming of age, because that wasn't even what it was. It's literally teenager. It's Sarah Sossaman.
Yeah.
What's the name? Sarah
Shannon.
Shannon. Yeah. Shannon Sossaman. I don't know how to say it.
There's a lot of S's.
Yeah, there's a lot of S's in her name.
A lot of N's.
Yeah.
Because it's N-Y-N.
Jason, what do you want to say?
Hey, let me ask you this. If Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves started off with the song "Everything I Do It For You," like, if that would have been the very beginning of the movie, would that have taken you completely out of context of that entire film?
If Kevin Costner would have been walking down the road singing that song, yes, it would have. Or if he'd been walking down the road clapping his hands to that song or stomping his feet to that song, yes, it would have taken me out of that film. It's not necessarily that it had. I mean, it's yes, you have characters in the 1600s interacting with something that came out 300 years later and acting as if it's modern music to them. My brain hurts thinking about it.
I don't remember anybody singing along to it. I do remember dancing, and I remember clapping.
They
do the stomp clap.
Let me ask you this. Is it possible that they might have done a stomp clap all the way back then in a way like pumped up in the stands or something? Do you think that's even a remote possibility? And instead of clap, because I mean, the stomp clap, like it could have been something that they did to get everybody riled up inside the stadium. My point being is, you are willing to forgive a whole lot of stupid shit for a whole stupid movies, and the beginning of this movie doesn't make sense in the rest of the context of the film. But holy crap, man. The performances by everybody are just adorable. It's not like they're fantastic. They're just fun. And that's every time that movie comes on the television and I'm like quasi like channel surfing or whatever we call it nowadays, I usually end up turning it on because it's just, and she's a mega hot babe in that movie. She's totally worth watching. She's so easy on the eyes, and Heath Ledger is freaking always awesome. And I know that I think you were there for this story, Shane, but I get when we went to Comic Con a couple of years ago, um, Alan Tudyk was in Indianapolis, and I got up and during the Q&A and I said, "Hey, I know you got to work with Heath Ledger. Is there any funny stories or something cool that you could tell us about A Knight's Tale?" And I can't remember if I've told it on this podcast. If I have, sorry, you're going to hear it again. So Alan Tudyk told us how it was hilarious because Heath would take this like small sword or like a big dagger and he would take it and like launch it up into the air like in between takes. He'd just throw it straight up in the air and then it would come down, but he would catch it on its way down and literally snatch it out of the air by the hilt of the blade, or that's attached to the blade. And he kept doing it. And then finally a producer saw him doing it and was like, "You've got to stop that, man. You can't do that. Like it's a danger to you. It's a danger to anybody around you." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he just throws it up again and he waits for it to come down and he catches it again. And he just kept doing it, even though they were like, "Please stop, just please stop." And he was like, "Okay, I'm going to totally stop at some point." And like, he would just kept throwing it up there. And, so I thought that was kind of fun to hear Alan Tudyk, retell that story because of the simple fact that it's like, Heath Ledger seemed like he was always that fun-loving guy, man, and he was fearless in so many movies that he made. That too, and so like to hear that fearless story as well as see what he did in that movie and just the fun it looked like they were having during the entire time they were making it. That I can't hate on this movie at all. So
it's called a loss. Hello.
Maybe someday I'll rewatch it.
That producer, I mean, that's silly. Like, does Heath Ledger seem like the kind of guy that's going to accidentally kill himself? It's going to be fine.
Oh my
Don't even
God.
worry about it.
Oh, Ryan, Jesus. Yeah, it looked like you had a visual aid you wanted to show, Ryan. What's going on?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that we're talking about Queens, We Will Rock You. Yeah. This article goes on to talk about, while popularized by Queen, the concept of rhythmic foot stomping and clapping is deeply rooted in African folk dance traditions. And I was trying to see if it went on further with that actually stomp, stop, clap.
Well, as far as I remember, the film is not set in Africa, so I'm not going to buy that.
Well, don't forget Gladiator. He got pulled back through with African slaves. They probably taught him.
Okay, sure.
Hey, Queen is from England. And
so that's where they got it from. Please don't tell me any of you actually believe Master of Disguise is a good movie.
I've never seen it.
God, Garrett, why? What is
so funny? It is one of those. It is ridiculously.
Garrett enjoys that movie because it was his 21st birthday movie. We went as a family to Studio Movie Grill, 86 in Michigan.
Nope.
We went over there to go watch it.
It was downtown Indianapolis, whatever it was that they used to have down there.
It was entertaining. But Garrett had such a good time, man.
How drunk was he on it? How drunk was he on his 21st birthday?
At that point, I wasn't. It was just, it's one of those movies that was just so, I don't know, the timing of things. Maybe I just watching movies and then it's mocking movies. It's talking about just the comedic performance that he does. Like, I don't know, am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
How did that become
cracks
the
me
movie?
up every single time.
Why was that the movie that you decided to watch on your 21st?
I don't think there was anything else out that day, and we wanted to go to wherever it was that was downtown. The
Hollywood Barn and
movie,
Filmworks is where it would have been
yeah,
downtown.
yeah. We wanted to go there, and they weren't showing anything, but it was Master of Disguise. I was like, all right, let's go take a look at it. I didn't know anything about it, so I went and watched it. I was like, God, that was hilarious. Like, I was rolling the entire time. And, like, I still, if I see it on, I will turn around and watch it because it's just, I don't know. It hits to me just that stupid, silly, funny.
Was Care around then?
Yeah.
Does she love it?
Kara likes it. She thinks it's funny. She quotes Turtley enough for the Turtle Club too. And then you always do the. I know when I first saw you, you had a little weenie, tiny
You're not
nuts,
a little winner. Tiny nuts.
tiny nuts. You go in the water. Shark goes in the water.
There are funny
Like,
lines from the movie, and I'll
it's
always love
funny.
being a card.
I'm not in. And Ryan, I know, man. See, here's the problem. The next one is so anti-Ryan in this. Garrett was on my side for this movie, and I just heard recently that Garrett is not on my side anymore, bro. Battleship is garbage. Battleship is
Battleship
absolutely terrible.
Is probably just a terrible trash movie that is so fucking entertaining for no reason. And a lot of the movie's trash. A lot of the movie is absolute trash. But there is a 30 seconds where he gives that speech to the men on the what's the destroyer out there now? Oklahoma or what's the Missouri? Yeah, the Missouri still rocking. And he gives that speech to the old World War II guys, and they're like, what do you need? He's like, nobody can ask you guys. You guys have done so much for your country. Nobody could ask you to do anything else. But I'm asking. And the old guy, the World War II vets are like, what do you need, son? He's like, we need to borrow your boat. And Thunderstruck lines up. And they start just ripping everything down and getting the boat going. The movie touches me, man. That part, like, that is entertainment. And it's 30 seconds, and there's some fun parts around that. And I know that it's like not good. Trust me. And I think that they could have actually done some good things with this movie if they didn't screw so much up. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have some entertaining parts. And that part's like good enough that like I've teared up. I've watched those old guys get ready to run that ship again, and I'm like, let's go get them, Grandpa.
So
I mean, they get all excited. They're like, is it the Japanese again? Like, yeah, it's good.
I did not like that movie the first time I saw it. And I remember Ryan on his bachelor party trying to watch the movie on the bus, and I was like, oh my gosh. And like we watched it, and I was like, this is such a bad, awful, no good, very bad, awful, stupid movie. And Ryan talked it up so much for a while, years, and I was like, all right. So one day I was bored out of my mind. I was like, I had it on COVID, and I was like, I gotta rewatch this. I guess it was on. I found it, went to it, and I was like, yep. I was like, this is just bad. I can't believe I'm putting myself through this for like a third time. I cannot believe I'm doing this. Ryan, what are you thinking? But then when he goes, need to borrow your boat, and Thunderstruck hits, you're like, okay, there's like 35, 47, 55 seconds in there that you're like,
it's real good.
Okay, this
it's
is
worth
fun.
the rest. It's worth the other 90 minutes.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just, I can go back. I can go to YouTube now and pull that scene up, and I'm like, there it is. The only good part of the movie. The rest of it is just god awful. It is just not worth watching.
So bad.
Watch Battleship Thunderstruck when he goes, I need to borrow your boat. And then it hits. That's so good. And it reminds me kind of like Thor and when he comes in with Immigrant Song, just boom, and he comes in on the bridge and smacks it. Like you get pumped up, you're like, yeah, Thor. Here you're like, yeah, World War II guys, get up, do it. And it's so fun. The rest of the movie's awful. Awful.
Terrible. Jason, I hope that's your opinion on the movie.
Everybody shat on that movie so hard for so long. I finally watched it and I was like, I've seen worse. Like,
Oh my God.
like it's not good, but I definitely have seen worse. Bodies is worse than that movie.
Oh my God, no! Bodies is brilliant storytelling. Like
Oh, bodies sucks. But
is
you're
genius.
interrupting me, young man. Anyway, so I'm gonna, but dude, Battlefield. It was one of those moments where like all the stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna use this grid system, B3 fire," and you're just like,
dude.
at that point, you're just like, I've sat here for an hour. Go ahead, give it to me. Give me this last 20 minutes.
I forgot about that. That's how the Japanese were being able to read where the boats were without acting sonar.
What alien species decides to come down and put fucking buoys in the middle of our like? What? Where is the logic behind this attack? No,
they were already there. There are already buoys that we have.
Yeah. So it was
obviously Shane.
But I have seen worse. The next one that you're gonna throw on is worse than Battleship, in my opinion, by far.
I mean, if we're staying on the water, let's just address which one of you two kids thinks Speed 2 is actually a good movie. Oh my God, Ryan, really?
No, okay. I don't.
Yes.
Again, now you keep saying things like good movie, but stretching it that far. Fun scenes. Let's stick with that. Fun scenes.
Okay.
Only thing
I guess I do keep considering that when the title of the show is Bad Movies with the Miller Brothers, we are just addressing that these are bad movies that for whatever fucking reason you guys have found something to like about them, not necessarily that you think that they're good. I need
this one
mentally
obviously they got rid of Keanu Reeves and they replaced him with Jason Patric, which was an interesting choice. However, he was just in a little movie called Strange Darling that you love. So clearly you're all about his characters.
Jason Patric was in Strange Darling?
I haven't seen it. I looked it up, but I just made a connection so I could yell at you on this.
I'm just trying to remember who he was in the movie. He's not the main guy. Okay. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Besides that, I mean, the movie's not really that good and that entertaining for the most part. Actually, I turn it off most of the time. Now, if it does come on, some fun parts. William Dafoe is a psychotic, weird serial killer with leeches.
That's literally the only thing I can remember was that Jason Patric's in it instead of Keanu, and then has a bathtub full of leeches, and that's all I remember about the movie. And it's a runaway cruise line ship or whatever.
Yeah. And it's about to run into a tanker, and it ends up running into a little Jamaican city or whatever. And then they get off the boat and they chase him down, and they bring back the dude that he stole the car from in Speed, and now he's got a boat down in Jamaica, and he steals his boat, or in the Bahamas, and he steals his boat, and he takes off with it. Like it's fun connection.
I forgot that dude was back.
Oh man,
with the car. I will say, the one thing about this movie is that it falls into my favorite category of movies, which is 90s action movies, 90s style action movies. My absolute favorite, especially like rated R 90s style action movies. We're just like, there's a checklist that you're going to go down. There's going to be cursing. There's going to be a pair of tits. You're going to have some awesome deaths, couple explosions, and you're going to tough talk dead guys, which is like, you got to get the one-liners in there, especially like after they're dead, like tough talk them. But like if you're hitting all those categories, like I'm pretty much sold. So in this, I think hits a couple of those categories for sure. But 90s action in general, like it doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't have you don't want it to be completely unrealistic, but like as long as you can have a couple beers and be like, yeah, it could happen. Then like I'm in. Like I mean, I guess it could.
Rise of Steven Seagal again.
I bet Shane pulled that off with the car drunk ones.
Oh man, yeah. I just realized I'm on this call with like the three people who have all seen me in my absolute worst different phases of my life. That's awesome. And I didn't put that together until just now. Every one
I
of
can
you
name a
have
list
seen
of
me.
other people that have been there. They wouldn't come on
Yeah,
the
okay.
show though.
No, I think
you're right.
Speed 2 was a lot of fun. It's one of those again, just like Knight's Tale. If I'm scrolling through the channels and I see it on, and I'm like, I'll give it a go. Let's go, and I'll watch it. If something else comes up, I'll stop. But like, it's fun enough for its time and for the times that it's on to be able to watch and see. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
Also, you can't rate all these movies as like movies that we think are good. A lot of these movies are just movies that HBO had the contract for when we were growing up. So they were on TV. Very accessible, very readily accessible. Like any Nicolas Cage movie on TNT on Saturday mornings, obviously. Con Air, Face Off, all the way through the category. I mean, everything he's ever made was on TNT on Saturdays.
Sure.
So those were a lot of these movies. A lot of these movies Garrett and I watched together, and we're practically best friends. My favorite person. Like,
aww. That's super cute. I'm gonna click that.
But I mean that's real though. Like that means a lot to us. So I mean that's where a lot of this like nostalgia and like honestly Speed 2, I don't want to watch it, but I have a bunch of lines that Garrett and I can go back and forth on that we quoted when we were kids, and we still have those, and we'll be able to say them to each other and be like, that's fun. So
we used to quote movies so much, like we would be on family trips, and him and I would just talk in movie quotes, and my dad would be like, "Guys, boys, just shut up, or I'm going home. Boys, shut up and stop in the car. Like seriously, stop it." Like would get yelled at so bad by my dad because we would just be yelling off movie quotes the whole time. It was a lot of fun.
It's awesome. I'm happy that we got to do that therapy session between the two of you, and you guys got to address your love for each other and where all these movie quotes came from. That's super cute, guys.
Speak to us good movie quotes.
I have accomplished something even better than I could have expected with tonight's episode.
Five
the Miller
knots.
So, in the 90s, John Carpenter was asked if he would ever come back and direct another Halloween film. And John Carpenter's response to that question was, "The only way I will ever direct another Halloween film is if they cryogenetically freeze Michael Myers' body, shoot him out into outer space, and hundreds of years in the future, a bunch of dumb kids in space find his body." So, like, 8 years later, that ends up becoming the actual plot for Jason X. That is literally where the scriptwriter got the idea for Jason X from. And Jason X is one of the absolute worst films in that entire franchise. And I don't understand where either of you can show any love for this movie from. It is so dumb. So please explain to me where the Jason X love comes from.
Mine is, so I watched last year, went through, because we had talked about Jason and all the movies. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back, watch them all in the chronological order, rewatch them. And I did. And there were so many bad ones leading up to that. Like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Takes Manhattan. Just absolute trash.
Jason Goes to Hell is terrible. I'll give you that.
It's just trash. But then they go to space and it just becomes ridiculous. It leaves the Jason that was scary. It leaves the Jason that was just in the cabins and haunting kids at Crystal Lake. Took away from that, and it went to that's just ridiculous, like out of nowhere thought of, wow, okay, we're going here, let's go for it. We're gonna have fun with it, and we're gonna make it ridiculous for the sake of making it ridiculous. And they did, and it was so much better than the ones that were right before there. So I went from garbage, boring, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Takes Manhattan, and I'm like, this is just, they're so far from anything good. And then they go to 10, and they just were like, we're going to make a fun movie. It's going to be ridiculous. But it's going to make up for the garbage that we've seen in the last couple of movies.
Ryan, what are your feelings on Jason X? Do you think
I'm in such the same world as that. I talked about this when I talked about Halloween, was the fact that all the new movies that we've been coming out with and watching have just, they've lost complete sight of where they're going. They're trying to continue on this storyline with her, and just, you have to kill the movie. You have to kill The movie, if you want to go back to Michael Myers, you can, but you have to kill it first. So the best way to kill it, I was like, take him in fucking space. Like, go anywhere. Like, who cares? And Jason X did it perfectly because they finally took him in. This wasn't like the pinnacle of all the movies and like, hey, we made this final like big movie and this is where we're going to kind of end this part of the series. And they'll bring him back, but they can bring him back serious again. But like, it had drug on through all these terrible sequels to a point where it was just they completely exhausted everything. And like, you can leave it at that or go out there, say, hey, like, where are all the stupid ideas that we've come up with? Make a whole list of them. Let's put them all into one movie and let's just have fun with it in the most ridiculous way. Here's your budget. We'll make that. So let's just go have fun, do all the stupid stuff that you've thought about and been like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's stupid. Let's put it all into one movie, get it all out of your system, and then we'll leave it alone. And we'll just leave it be for enough years that we can come back and start from scratch again and say, this is Jason. And it sucks that like they did, and this is Jason didn't really take back off. Actually, I think Freddy vs. Jason came on after that still. Before they came back with the new Friday the 13th. Those didn't really take off, but I don't think horror's in the same place that it used to be in film for slashers. I think that
which I actually didn't think that like the 2009 reboot, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was okay for what they tried to do.
It just didn't take off in a market. Like there was no market for it anymore. And I think that that's what they realized with that. I think they could have gone on and done more. They have to figure out how to reshape the market into enjoying slasher movies like that. Now, when people are really going to horror movies, the biggest thing, I mean, slashers were big for a very long time, but slashers don't have it. I mean, Terrifier, we obviously seeing this resurgent in slasher, which who knows if that's going to be able to continue on, if that has any kind of legs for the future. But like for when people are really going for horror these days, there's so much more psychological horror that is out there. And that seems to be where everything is kind of getting placed. And, I'm kind of the horror. I've gotten really big into the horror market and it's kind of interesting times. Like, where's everything going to go with the horror market? But that movie, Jason X, was just Jason Space. It was a perfect way to kill. It was a beautiful homage, especially the scene where he puts him in the sleeping bag and starts beating him against the tree trunk. Wasn't that or was that Jason? Yeah, that was that.
Yeah,
because it was on the ship. There's the holograph, on the ship. Yeah, and like it was perfect. She's like, "Hey, do you want to come with us and do sex and have drugs?" And then like he puts him in the sleeping bag and is just slapping him against a tree, and like that was perfect because it was like they were just making fun of themselves. Like they weren't too big to not say like we're dumb. Like that's what I.
But I know, like I think Freddy Jason chronologically was before.
Yeah,
Freddy X or whatever.
Yeah, chronologically it would have been. Yeah. So the next category, we can just skip over what we were going to talk about next. We don't need this to focus on the negativity because, again, you're right. When I was writing the script for this, I went very much with like, I want to shit talk all of these movies that we're going to talk about. So let me come up with my list of movies I want to shit talk. Not even worried about that anymore. So let's just move on to the final part that we're going to talk about tonight, and that is the Horowitz questionnaire. It's been a long time since Jason and I had some new blood on this show, some people who haven't done this before. So this isn't really a discussion. We're not really going to talk about your answers, but these are just some questions. It used to be a 17 question thing. We narrowed it down to 10 questions, the 10 that I think are the best to ask people, just to try to kind of get to know you and how you feel about film and how you feel about the movie going experience. So it's really nice that we've got some new people to ask these questions too. And Jason, if you don't mind, will you do the odd questions?
Sure. This one will go Garrett then Ryan. But what is the first film that you ever remember seeing?
First film that I can remember actually seeing, I remember seeing it in theater. Was E.T. That's as far back as I can remember going to watch a film. And I can't remember what year E.T. came out, but it was 82, so I would have been in Wisconsin, but I would have been 1 year old at that point or two.
Yeah, but movies back then stayed in theaters for an extended period of time and then re-released in theaters every couple of years. So
he probably saw when he was one, though. He was really smart when he was younger. He just got dumb as he got older.
Yeah. But yeah, E.T. was the first one. Would be the first one I can actually remember.
What about you, Ryan?
Shit, The Night They Saved Christmas. But the first going to I don't know what the first film was. It had to be The Night I Saved Christmas. But first rated R movie I ever saw. That was a big deal. I was like, I finally got to see. We were at Holbrook's. Whose house were we at? Somebody from
Decatur's?
I don't know, 6 or 7, and we saw Hard to Kill. Steven Seagal.
Oh, okay. That's a good movie.
Mason Storm. You can take that to the bank.
And I do. So the fun thing is, like, I think that shaped a lot of even who I am that day, like in my
your 90s action
world. Yeah. My 90s action. It's so much like when I saw Hard to Kill, like I was so excited. Like there was like the best, coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Wasn't that Kelly Brook in that movie? Wasn't that showing her boobs?
Yeah.
Did that start your 90s action movie arc?
I think so. That would be where I
think that has been a great arc for Ryan.
1990s film. 1990 film.
So my brother David, he used to talk about how there were 3 things that made a movie an A+ movie in his book. The first one being you had to have explosions. The second one being Arnold Schwarzenegger had to be in it, whether it was just a small cameo or he was the star, whatever it was, Arnold had to show up. And the third one was a pair of boobs had to show up on screen. Those were his 3 criteria. If you could hit those 3, it was an automatic A+ from him. So.
Good criteria. Question number 2. And I know Garrett's answer. I'm going to be excited to see what Ryan's answer is for this. What is your all-time favorite film? Garrett, you can go ahead and go first. If I get this wrong, I'm going to feel like a terrible friend.
1984 Ghostbusters.
All right, cool. All right, our friendship is still intact. That is what I expected to hear from you.
100%.
Great answer. Ryan, what's your all-time favorite film, sir?
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Yeah, exact same.
Awesome. Yeah, the Miller brothers are one and the same. Question number 3, Jason.
Ryan, you're going to go first. What is your favorite line in a movie?
I was not prepared for this part of the questions. How about Garrett goes first? Do you know what you're going to say, Garrett?
Yeah. If I had a dick, this is where I tell you to suck it.
Oh, gee.
Such a good line. And it's from Betty White. It's from Betty White. And it's from Lake Placid. It's so good. It's so perfect.
Okay, please give me a real and legitimate answer. I don't believe that at all. I think that was for my benefit.
No, I have it written down right here. I put it on a note that it would be that or oh my god. No, I was gonna say I was trying to think of another line from Ghostbusters real quick, but it's like nobody steps on the church in my town. This bitch is toast.
Ask you if you're a god.
You say yes. So yeah,
I would take any of those.
Any of the lines from Ghostbusters could be it, but yeah, if I had to go all-time favorite from a film, like I actually took time to think about this, and if I had a dick, this is where I tell you to suck it. Was right there.
Okay. Weird. I thought you just said that to me for fun. I didn't realize it was actually because you liked the quote from the movie. Weird.
It's a really good quote. It's funny. It made everybody here laugh when I said it.
Well, it makes it feel less important when you say it to me now. So, Ryan, what do you got, my friend?
I was terrible. I didn't go through and prepare myself for these. I do not have anything at this time. By the time we get through 10, I will be ready.
All right, sounds good. Question number 4. Let's see if
it's in there somewhere.
Let's see if Ryan can answer this one. Ryan, what film made you realize that movies are an art?
I honestly didn't think about movies being art for a long time. Uh, I guess I have two answers to this. One is where I realized that movies were art, and I did not like the movie. I watched it with my father in high school. My dad and I used to watch war movies all the time, and we watched The Thin Red Line.
Oh,
And man,
That's rough.
that movie sucked.
Yeah.
That was just like, it was just, I know that it's, people still talk about it like it's something great. And man, it was a swing and a miss in my book. And I just really did not understand the art of it. And then I was in college, and
I think so.
yeah, I was in college, and my buddy Mo, uh, he showed me a movie that I still watch to this day, and the soundtrack's amazing, and everything about it is just absolutely phenomenal. And you're gonna get squeamish when I say it, but it's fucking Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, Aronofsky. I'm a big fan of Aronofsky.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite
And
Aronofsky film, but
it was so good. And that was obviously, that movie is just, it's phenomenal in my mind, and like from every single part of it. And that's definitely like, that opened up my mind to that. Like, there's a little more to this than hits.
did watching
nonsense.
Requiem for a Dream in any way get you interested in maybe watching his first film, Pi?
So I did see Pi as well.
Okay.
And I do really enjoy Pi. I really do.
Okay.
That is a wonderful think piece.
Yes.
Boy, that scene. He finally
with
puts the
his
drill. Finally
to
puts
his
the drill
head.
to his head. You're like,
Yep. That was his story arc in that film, and where he got his character too.
yeah.
Garrett, what film made you? Garrett, do you realize the film is an art? Like, do you understand that it's more than just Lake Placid? Like,
So
the
I'm not allowed to
film-
say I realized it was an art when I saw Master of Disguise.
No, you
No.
cannot answer that question.
No.
What film made you realize the film is art, my friend?
So I had two, and again, it would be like Forrest Gump. I had
Okay.
to really like watching that, the way it was made, with Tom Hanks being able to be edited into older spots.
Sure.
That kind of started me thinking about it. That was probably what, 94.
I know for you.
It was 94.
Started thinking about it. But what
everything.
really, I think I remember like the aha moment for me in watching movies was Truman Show. And
Oh, okay.
that comes to because like Jim Carrey, to me, I was like, it's Jim Carrey movie. It's a Jim Carrey movie. I had watched previews on it. Someone just said, let's go watch the new Jim Carrey movie. And I was like, all right, let's go. So I watched it and I was like, wow, that sucked. That was awful. Like, oh. And then the more we talked about it, the more we thought about it, I was like, I need to see this again I was thinking it's a Jim Carrey movie because he was pigeonholed to me in just dumb Ace Ventura and all these other movies. And then Truman Show came out. I was just like, it blew my mind that he could do a serious movie like this. And so, yeah, watching Truman Show to me was, I went back and rewatched it with the different glasses of an understanding of like, it's a serious movie or with some comedy stuff like that, but it's more of a serious, that to me made me realize like there's more to than just it being a movie. And so like I think Forrest Gump opened it up a little bit, but then 5 years later, when Truman Show, and that hit me, and I was like, holy crap. Okay. Yeah. That's where I think I had my aha moment.
Very nice. Question 5.
Question 5. What movie do you consider to be your guilty pleasure?
I think we did a Shane Talk poll on this one back in the day on Facebook. And so I put this one as Paycheck with I got Ben Affleck
I
and
mean,
Uma
it's a
Thurman.
Ben Affleck movie, so I can't consider it a guilty pleasure. You should just love anything that Ben Affleck does. So,
But
I
there's so many
mean,
people who I tell them, I'm like, I actually really enjoyed Paycheck. And they're like, "What? How did you enjoy that?" I was such a, and I'm like, "No, it's got like it just I can watch that anytime, anytime. It just to me, and maybe it's I don't know, like there's just the cast, the writing of it, there's everything flowed for me with it. It was just a fun movie, an enjoyable action packed movie for me that I really just can watch.
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest one's got to be Battleship, but I get excited just talking about it, man. Like,
I'm gonna have to go watch that speech again now that you guys are talking.
it's so fun.
Don't watch the
Like,
movie.
it's
Just
just
fast
this.
forward to that speech. Just
Oh,
fast forward to the
I'm
speech.
a Taylor Kitsch. I'm a Taylor Kitsch fan anyway. I mean, he was so close to like having a career that I thought was going to resemble what a lot of my favorite '90s action stars' careers were like. And then you lose $300 million on franchise that never takes off, and things happen. Uh,
All right. Question number 6. Who is your all-time favorite actor or actress? Garrett?
Hands down, Bill Murray.
Oh, that is a great answer. That is an awesome answer. Ryan?
uh, man, Robin Williams was for a long time. Then I really got into Edward Norton.
Ooh.
I just wish that his personality didn't get in the way of him being able to take on new roles. With that being said, I think now overall, I'd kind of moved on to Daniel Day Lewis. Man,
Oh, okay.
I think he portrays his characters and just I think his commitment to those characters is just surreal.
I have not seen what's the sewing one that he did. I haven't seen that one yet.
Tempest? Was that the
What was
call?
it?
Is that the Tempest?
Is that what it was? I haven't. I was curious if Ryan had seen it and thought it was any good. No. Okay.
Nope, no clue.
Word. All
I'll have
right.
to go check it out.
No, question number 7, please, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, I was looking up your question that you were just talking. Phantom Thread. I apologize, not
Oh,
Tempest.
Phantom Thread. Yeah, there you go.
So, who is your favorite director of all time? Go, Garrett.
Ryan?
All right,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
go. Michael Bay.
Okay. Okay.
He's Bad Boys. I mean, Bad Boys is just he was so good. It's just Michael Bay.
Do you know Michael Bay's first directing job?
Uh,
He directed
Probably
Meatloaf's
not.
video. He directed
Oh, yeah.
Meatloaf's video for "I Will Do Anything for Love." And when you know that and you watch that video, it makes 100% sense
Yeah.
why there's a helicopter and a chase scene that opens up that music video.
So when I was going through this list because you gave it ahead of time, I went through and I was like, I looked that up and saw his very first. And I was like, I bet Shane asked me what was his very first, and I don't think it actually was that. I mean, here it says Poco, Call It Love.
Yep.
Was his very first one.
Whatever. Fine, I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I did when I was going through this. I was like, okay, he was with Meatloaf too for a while there. Like he did a couple Meatloaf from the Bad Out of Hell album.
Well, what's even funnier is like if you look back on his filmography on IMDb, like they even have him highlighted for the Playboy Carrie Contrell September of 1990 video centerfold. So apparently they were giving directing credits to those Playboy videos where the girls just dance around naked.
Okay,
Yeah.
look. So when I ask about directing credit, I meant like an actual, there's a story going on because Meatloaf's character had a story arc through that music video.
Hey.
1993, Shane, he had started directing music videos in 1989. So there's a long list in between those two. His first one and that one.
And if you look at that Playboy one, the Carrie Kendall September 1990 centerfold, it's got a 6.9 rating on it.
Ryan, who is your all-time favorite director, my friend?
I'm cliche, man. Christopher Nolan.
That's a great one.
I've really just enjoyed all of his stuff lately.
Yep.
I thought Tenet was the shit.
Absolutely.
Interstellar, like I could watch Interstellar like 2 times a week without being upset about it.
Gotcha. That's one of his lesser ones, in my opinion. But yeah, of modern directors, like Nolan is up there at the top of my list, 100%. Like, I definitely agree with you on that. Question number 8: Who is your ultimate favorite movie character? A character from any film. Who's your favorite character, Ryan?
I don't know. Give me a second to think about it because I was definitely not prepared like you told me to be.
Yeah,
Garrett.
I will start off the answers, I guess, on these. I went through my list on here, and I was just like, man, I have a handful that I couldn't pick from. I honestly, I want to say Jack Sparrow was one of my favorite characters of watching. I mean, I remember going back, and we mentioned Fox and the Hound earlier, and I remember Fox and the Hound used to have the mug club, and I had a mug down the bottom on it said Jack Sparrow, and I had a friend who'd be like, "Hey, you want to go see Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack?" And I'm like, "Look, let's roll." So we go to Fox and the Hound.
Nice.
But man, like reading through this, I was like, V for Vendetta, Snake Plissken.
Good
Indiana
one.
Jones. They were such great characters. They had so much entertainment to them.
Ryan, have you been able to come up with one as Garrett lists off 4?
No, I did not. I honestly did not.
It's LeFou from Beauty and the Beast, isn't it?
I was going to say the one-legged dude from Battleship. Maybe not.
Oh, gee.
No. No, I'm not there yet. I mean,
Of all of your
Man.
80s action, or of all of your 90s action movies, there's not one character that stands out that you love more than any of the others.
Mason Storm.
No, that's what I mean. I love Mason Storm. I love Snake Plissken. And who else is in there?
John McClane.
John McClane is classic. Man. I think that.
Simon Phoenix.
I know, but I think I'd end up going back to. I think I'd always just end back up on Peter Venkman as just the perfect, perfect in so many ways. Of the sarcastic scientist, he was just a loser that got caught up in something that was so much bigger than he was. I love him.
Yeah,
man. I mean, I'm glad somebody gave you this list of questions a couple of days ago to be able to, think. And I read the first two.
I read the first 2, and then I kept getting distracted.
As I told Shane, I read the first 2, and then I was like, I'm gonna have to take a break because that was a lot of thinking and reading. And then I read a few more, and I was like, that's too much reading for me. I gotta have to go somewhere else. And then I kept having to come back to it.
I looked at this list multiple times today, and I still didn't get past number 2.
I was literally sitting next to your brother at Joe's when I texted you guys the questions, and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh yeah, I can't do that right now."
Too much reading. So I like movies, man. Give me the story in 2 hours instead of making me take days to read it. Give me the basics.
ADD kids. You got ADD kids. You should send me a new question every day for 10 days. I can focus on one question for a bit. Yeah.
What's your
question number 9?
Favorite movie snack in the movie theater? You got to have this when you go to the
popcorn.
Okay, we always allow people, if that is their answer, to give another answer, because obviously popcorn is the most popular answer to that question. So candy wise, if you were going and having candy,
Reese's Pieces.
Okay. Ryan, do you know what candy is at the theater? Do you eat candy when you go to the theater?
It's not even at the theaters anymore, which is annoying. Goobers.
Yeah.
Goobers, man. Chocolate covered peanuts.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, that's always my number one. Tiff knows that. She gets me packs all the time of Goobers. Go to the movies.
Peanuts. Sorry.
You got to enunciate very well. All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up with the last question. Question number 10 on the Horowitz questionnaire. It is my favorite question on the whole thing because I love hearing people's answers to this. If they are making a Miller Brothers movie and Hollywood is casting the Miller Brothers in the movie, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys, you have to cast yourself and your brother in the movie so that I
Okay.
know who the
You didn't
two
put that in
leads
there.
are. All right. So the Hollywood is casting the Miller Brothers movie. Garrett, who plays you and who plays your brother?
Jeremy Piven for me.
Okay. That's a
Just
good one.
because I think there's a look similar. I was going to go Dave Matthews on this one because like he's been in a couple movies and I've gotten that for years where I do look like Dave. But I think Jeremy Piven would be more that for me. Oh my God, I'm blanking out for Ryan. Whoever plays Cousin Eddie. My brain just died on me.
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
Randy
That would be
Quaid. Yeah,
Ryan.
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid would be Ryan 100%.
Okay.
No.
That is Jeremy Piven and Randy Quaid. I am 100% on board for that. Ryan, they're casting the Miller Brothers movie. Who plays you and who plays Garrett?
Fat Jeremy Renner plays me. And
I like how you have to. Is it Jeremy Renner in a fat suit, or are you saying like Jeremy Renner needs to gain some weight to play you?
I think Jeremy Renner let himself go for a while, and then he could
Okay.
play me.
Okay.
Like he stops being so pretty for a bit and just like says, "Fuck it."
Nah, man. No,
Then he
this
can play.
is the Hollywood version, baby. You can be as skinny as you want to be on this one.
Matthew Lillard plays me in all the casting of this movie for me. Like, so Matthew Lillard plays me. Anybody can play you that you want.
I gotcha.
Oh, anybody.
And then I think I'd have Garrett played by Gwyneth Paltrow. You said anybody, right? Like that was. Is that not the deal we made?
I'm
I
not
thought we
really
were
a cat.
I thought we were in the safe place.
I'm not really a cat.
Shane was not ready for that answer. That's
No,
what
he wasn't. I was really hoping he had a. That would have been awesome if he had just taken a drink out of his beer when Ryan said that. So it was just all over.
Oh my God, it would have been all over the camera. That would have been, dude. Oh my God, I was prepared for that. That has never happened on the show. Awesome. That's
Leave it to Ryan.
Hollow.
So, leave it to Randy Quaid.
Yeah, guys.
And I can revisit those two questions now.
Okay, let's do it. Your favorite.
What was it?
I don't even remember which ones we skipped over now. Your favorite line from a movie.
Well, dude, Gattaca, Ethan Hawke, because I never held any, or I never saved anything for the swim back.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yeah.
That line.
Gattaca's great. Absolutely.
It was where. Yeah, he was talking about like because the one brother always beat the other brother.
Mm-hmm.
No offense here, Garrett, but
yeah, I know
don't
where you're
read
going.
too far into this. Don't read too far into this, Gwyneth. But he's like, do you know how I always won? He goes, because I never held anything for the swim back. I never saved anything for the swim back, which is just like that's a cool line. I always like that.
I'd forgotten about that. Hold on.
So what?
I said I'd forgotten about that line. So thank you for that. Gattaca's a great movie.
That's probably like because that's one that's like, man, I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but like that one line always sticks with me.
Yeah.
And then honestly, my favorite acting role, my favorite character, obviously Peter Venkman's great. Bill the Butcher.
Oh,
Daniel Day-Lewis is Bill the Butcher.
Okay.
And like, I mean, I always get behind that role and how he played it. And I think he did. I think he was perfect.
I should revisit that. That's one that I didn't really care for when I watched it. Not that I hated it. Like it wasn't a hate level thing for it, but I just didn't really like the movie.
As you're looking at it as a period piece. I mean, obviously, it's not historically accurate, but it's a really cool story that they tell. There's different pieces that are historically accurate. They put them at the same time, even though they're not at the same time. They didn't happen at the same time, but they kind of mix it all together into this one jumbled what if story, which is just it's fun. And I mean, Bill was actually made after a real person, which I would highly doubt that he was anything the way that he played it. But I thought that his version of Bill the Butcher was just perfect.
Nice.
And it's another Cameron Diaz as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Guys,
but she's all cut up.
I love all three of you people. You are three of my favorite people on this planet. I enjoy every minute that I get to spend with you guys. Tonight has been a dream come true. I am happy that after 96 episodes, after 95 episodes, on the 96th episode, we were able to get you guys on here before we wrap everything up. So thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got schedules worked out to make this all happen tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a part of this. Next month, we will be back, Jason and I, with our former coworker, Brandon Yoder. And we're going to be talking about if there's actually any movies that deserve to be remade. Because this goes back to a conversation Brandon and I had a long time ago about the one movie that I believe deserves a remake. And we're going to kind of debate if there's anything else that does. So
St. Elmo's Fire.
No, absolutely not. St. Elmo's Fire is perfect. No, that will be stricken from the record.
I think
You're a
put
fool.
like Zac Efron.
And actually, build it up like the song, man. Like the song was so good. I was waiting for so much from that movie, and then it just
no. That movie is absolutely amazing. I mean, I guess if they put Glenn Powell in it, I'll be like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's go. Glenn Powell's in the St. Elmo's Fire remake.
All right,
I don't want to sound gay, but I'd suck his dick.
That doesn't sound gay at all. No, you're good.
$20 is $20.
Guys, thank you so much for everything.
What was Orgasmo when they were talking about that? Hey, I'm not gay, but I'd totally have sex with you.
We're going to end on that note.